Hello and welcome to the Wooden Ball Show. I'm your host, Dave Ball, also known as Blinson on Reddit and at Blinson1 on Twitter. And like always, I'm joined by my partner in crime here, Blake Wood. He's known as at ChatMyKirk on Twitter and BTownBomb on Reddit. And today we are joined by our resident Chicago Blackhawks fan here, Emma. She is known as Triona700 on Reddit and Triona05 on Twitter. We also have Isaac here, who is our Montreal Canadiens fan, and he is known as by Shut Up Isaac on Twitter and Reddit. How are you guys doing?
I'm good.
Good.
That's good. Looks like Blake is muted at this present moment, so we will get back to him in a bit. So I guess we'll just head right into it. So up first we have the Chicago Blackhawks interview here. We're going to switch it up from what we did last week. Last week we started with kind of quick hits section, but we'll be doing that after the interviews. So are you ready for this, Emma? Kind of gave you a little bit to prepare, so.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, then let's get this started. So the first thing we're going to do here is kind of go into last season. I mean, last season went very well for you guys, I kind of feel. So I feel like this should be a little bit of a happy kind of interview here compared to what
Yeah.
we've had so far. So kind of go over what happened with this past season, talk about, the actual season and then talk about the playoffs and how everything kind of went down for you guys.
Well, this season was kind of all over the place. I mean, I know a lot of people, especially me at the beginning of the season, did not expect things to pan out the way that they panned out. Last season actually kind of started off pretty similar to how this one is, where there was a lot of just uncertainty and lines moving around and Quenneville running the blender like crazy and doing all sorts of weird things. But it kind of got stronger around November. They go on a circus trip every year because the United Center gets taken over by the circus and they have to leave. So during that trip, they go to the Pacific, and that looked pretty good. They were pretty strong. They came out of that, I think, 4-2 for those 6 games against like Vancouver and the Ducks and the Sharks, and it was looking pretty good. But then in December, they started to, get ready for the Winter Classic, and the Epic Series was going on, and Clint Rife passed away, unfortunately, and so that was kind of the first in a whole bunch of kind of big off-ice things that the Blackhawks have had to deal with. They also had to deal with Steve Montador, and then a lot of injuries with Trevor Van Riemsdyk breaking his kneecap essentially, and Sharp getting hurt for a while, and then obviously the big one with Kane breaking his collarbone. So a lot of people kind of didn't think that things were really going to work out well in the playoffs. And then kind of toward the trade deadline, we started hearing rumors about various things happening with them off ice, and they had like this big closed door meeting. I think after they lost horrifically to Boston in Boston. And that, I mean, as far as I know, I haven't been a fan for that long, but as far as I know, in the Stan Bowman era, that has not happened. And he was there, apparently, word goes. So yeah, I didn't really think, even going into the trade deadline, I kind of thought this would be like, well, maybe, second round, we could maybe push for WCF. But then at the trade deadline, they picked up Vermette, and they picked up Desjardins, and they picked up Timonen as well. And then the team that kind of everyone thought would kind of filter out just kept going and going and going. So the playoffs, I mean, were great. Obviously, the season ended really well, but so I just was not expecting that at all. But it was great for sure to experience that, and great to see them push through all of the issues and just lots of heavy things they had to deal with to make it there. So
Yeah, it was definitely a good season for you guys at the end. Kind of go through your we're gonna do a unit breakdown here in which we're gonna go, talk about the forwards in general, then talk about defense, then goaltending and coaching. And at the end of each one, kind of give a grade to it. So starting with the forwards, kind of go person by person and talk to them, and at the end, give a grade of the whole entire unit.
Um, so the forwards, obviously, a lot of these the grades are going to be pretty decent
Mm-hmm.
given how this season panned out. I can't really shoot any single unit down completely, but the the forwards, I mean, you have the big guys, Tays, Kane, Sharp, obviously at the time still, Sod, Hossa. Tays, Sod, and Hossa were a fantastic top line for much of the end of the season. Um, and having Richards with Kane was great. And Richards talked a lot about how Kane really helped him enjoy playing hockey again. So that was really good. Just to see them. I think a lot of people were kind of worried about Richards coming in, just because they weren't sure, especially after his season in New York. They weren't really sure what would pan out with that, but it was really good to see him and Kane working so well together. Um, we got to see the surgeons of Teuvo Teravainen, or Taco Tuesday, or whatever you want to call him, um, which was great because he had been down in Rockford, and a lot of people had been upset with Quenneville for keeping him down there. But I think him being down there helped a lot, and so it was great to see him come up and just really excel during playoffs. Both center and wing. I think he should play center more, but he's decent with both. And um, let's see, bottom six on the forwards. Kruger will always be a great fourth line checking center. He's really good at what he does. Later on, it was great to have Desjardins there. Shaw kind of floats around and does a lot of things. He ends up on top a lot, but I think he's kind of better on the bottom. And Bickle's there, and Bickle does what Bickle does, and puts his big body around, and didn't have as productive of a season this year, which I don't think a lot of people were surprised of. So I say overall for forwards, um, probably I would say an A. Like, what else do you give them?
Yeah.
So it turned out pretty well for the forwards.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't really. Yeah, your grading is probably going to be a little higher than what most people give their team because of how the season did end. But
Right.
going into defense now, what do you so kind of talk about them?
Um, defense has always been interesting, and not because obviously we have top four. Well, really, well at the time I guess top four. I mean you have Keith and you have Seabrook and Jalmerson and Oduya. But the bottom two have always kind of been interesting. We've always, at least I say always, like last season had kind of a rotating in and out on the bottom, trying to figure out who would work. I mean, we had everyone. We had TVR, and he was supposed to be great, and he looked promising. He surprised people out of training camp, and then he got injured. That's Van Riemsdyk, and then we had, Roosevelt is there, and Roosevelt is Roosevelt, and he's okay, but not great. Um, people I think are harder on him than I like to be because he does have good moments. And then Runblad, and trying to think who else came in and out. You have, various people come in for injuries like Svedberg and Johns and Paliota as well. Some prospects came up from Rockford. So I think it was pretty good. The pairs moved around quite a bit. We had Seabrook with Jalmerson, and then sometimes Oduya would move with Keith, or Keith would be with Roosevelt. He would kind of be the person, bailing out the water for whoever was with him, as far as possession goes. But overall, it's pretty good. I think really having kind of the bottom pair solidified would have helped even more, obviously. But again, you can't really fault a lot of the way the defense turned out, and they got the job done. So defense, I would probably say A minus, just because of the bottom pair was shaky a lot of times.
Yeah. Yeah, the bottom pairing is not as important, I guess, when you have a big, when you have the big four that you kind of have on your team.
Right.
Yeah. So now go into your goaltending. I know you guys kind of had a slight goalie carousel in the first round at least. So
Say don't say the other C word. Um, it really like so obviously early on we had Ronta and Crawford, and it was the same. Ronta was back up last year as well. And sometimes you saw some cycling between him and somebody else if someone got injured. Leighton has been in Rockford in recent years.
Leighton.
And he keeps resigning. He seems happy to be down there. But and Darling would kind of rotate in Rockford at the beginning of last season. But then Ronta is good, and I think Ronta has. I mean, goalies are weird, but I think Ronta is a good goalie, but he just never got enough. I feel like he needed more
Kind of
steady playing time.
Yeah.
To really solidify, because we kind of had a running joke, we being the Hawks fan base, kind of had a running joke that it was either 2-goal Ronta or 4-goal Ronta as far as what he was going to let in. He was either going to be decent or he was going to be awful. So Darling came in and showed that even if he is sitting on the bench for part of the time, at least in the beginning, he could deal with it. So I think that kind of led to him being picked over Ronta for much of the playoffs. Actually, no, all the playoffs, because he was there in Nashville as well. So, and then Darling came out strong in the playoffs when Crawford kind of went down for a little bit. And then Crawford came back, and it was just good to see them together, and it was good for Crow to have a backup goalie, because he really has gotten a lot of starts, a high percentage of the starts recently, because I think coaching has not always been as confident in Ronta. But it seems like they're more confident in Darling because he's already taking on some of the starts and not just like back-to-backs. So I think we'll see hopefully that he will do more of a backup role and play more games, and then Crawford can kind of have some of that rest during the season that I think he needs to be better. And I think Crawford gets a lot of crap, but especially from our own fan base. But I think Crawford's a good goalie, and now with the contracts that are being signed, at the time his contract was high, but I think now he's kind of more moved into where he should be price range wise comparatively to other people in the league. So overall, goaltending I have to say also is an A-. I mean, you can say what you want about Crow, but he's won 2 Stanley Cups now, so I think goaltending we're pretty good, and we have a good backup now that can really be solid back there.
For Crawford, for me, I think it's the length of the contract. That's kind of.
Oh, I would totally agree. But I'm not big on any goalie being signed for that long.
I've had personal experience with a long-term goaltending signing. I don't know. But yeah, definitely anything outside of 2 years for goaltending, and unless they're like Henrik Lundqvist or Carey Price level, I think it's a little much to go for what he has 4 years left on his contract, 5 years now. He's until 2020, I believe, so like 5 years left on his contract.
Yeah.
Which I think is a little much for a goaltender, especially since he'll be 35, 36 when his contract's over.
Yeah,
and he's going to have a sharp turn down very soon.
I would agree with that, and I think too, it's not only do goaltenders take longer, it seems, to mature, but they seem to have a shorter window.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're like Lundqvist or someone crazy, but his window just keeps going. But yeah, no, I totally agree, and there will be a time when someone else has to step up, and I don't know if that'll be Darling. I mean, he's not really young either.
He's 26. That's very young for goaltending.
Oh, is he really? I thought he was older than that.
Yeah, he's 26 right now. So yeah, he's not even close to his prime yet.
Yeah. So maybe Darling could be the person to step in. Maybe it's someone. I mean, the only other goaltending prospect the Hawks have really is Matt Carruth, and he's been stuck in ECHL land for a long time. So they really need to.
You have Michael Leighton. You can always call him up. Trader Michael Leighton, secret double agent.
I think we're good.
Come on, he almost won a Stanley Cup. He's good.
uh,
Now I'm sad. Anyway, so coaching is kind of where we want to go into next. So.
yeah, coaching. So we have Joel Quenneville, who is quickly getting up there in numbers as far as some of the most prolific coaches
Mhm.
in NHL. He gets a lot of. I mean, he's you look at what he's done, like blank facts on paper, and he's done an amazing job with his team. One could argue that he has Taze and Kane and Keith and all those people. Of course, he's done a great job, but he does tend to like to pull the trigger very quickly, especially in the middle of the game. I think during the Capitals game 2 nights ago, I think we had the lines. They had the lines set for like 2 minutes in the first period, and then it was just gone. It's just like people were everywhere. Like someone would come out on someone else's shift, and like I can't remember who started on the top line with Taze and Hossa. But I think it was Tikhonov, and then Tikhonov was like on the third line, the next shift, and so he runs the blender a lot and mixes things up a lot. He doesn't always do it with the special teams, but he does do it with even strength lines and pairs, and I think it can be a good thing, but I also think it can be a detriment because he doesn't give people, and I'm by no means an NHL coach, but I don't think he gives people enough time to get out there and be comfortable with their partners,
Mhm.
especially people that are newer to the team. For example, the other night, Tavo was out there with, I think, Anisimov for a little bit, and he was out there for a goal against, which, in my opinion, he really had nothing to do with, but he was still on the ice when it happened, and he ended up sitting for 10 minutes in the third period. And so it's just things like that that I think kind of people get frustrated with. But he's still Joel Quenneville, and he's a great coach. And if people knock him for his line blending, they can't, you know, knock him for his management in the locker room because I think he had a lot to do with bringing the Hawks. I just have a suspicion he had a lot to do with bringing them out of or through all the stuff that happened last year because apparently he is a decent presence when he's in the locker room. But Um, but yeah, he's a great coach. Kevin Deneen is one of the assistant coaches, and he's great as well. I really like what he's done with special teams. I can't remember off the top of my head if he's power play or penalty kill. I think he's power play. But and then Mike Kitchen is a coach that's been on the staff for a while with Quenneville, and he's not really my favorite. And I think he's done penalty kill, and I think, has gotten lucky with his staffing because he had Ben Smith and Marcus Kruger for a while. So we'll see. But, I mean, overall, the product on the ice was great, so you can't really fault them too much. And then they brought in Jimmy Waite last year as goaltending coach. And I think he had a lot to do going to some practices and watching him work with Darling and Crawford. I think he's been a really good influence on them as well. So yeah, overall coaching. Again, I'd give an A. It's not a whole lot you can knock there. So
Yeah. All right. So your team won the Stanley Cup for the third time. So did you really enjoy that? Was that really nice? I guess. Kind of summing it all
Has
up.
anyone ever come on this and said, no, I hated it, it was awful?
Mhm.
Um,
I think that our Kings person last year said that. I think he
oh,
hated it.
really?
No, not at all.
Something Los Angeles. But yeah, it was awesome. Like I said before, I have not personally, I have not really followed hockey that closely for long, and so that was kind of cool. I've lived in Chicago for 3 years, and where I am from, hockey does not really exist. So it was cool for me to see because it was the first time I was really following a team And it was cool to, like I said, after all they've been through, that season particularly, it was cool because, the first cup was like, here we are a team that sucked for so long, and we're these young guys, and we came in, and this is what we did, and we're here, and we're great. And the second cup was kind of, after retooling, and they dropped so many people with the salary cap, which sounds kind of familiar, after the first cup, and they were like, we're still a dominant force, even though we lost all these people, we're able to get back to that level again. And this one, I think, just hearing what the players have said and hearing them talk about it, it sounds like this one means a lot more to them personally than definitely the second one. Some of them maybe even the first one for the 6 or 7 guys who were here for all 3. And it was really cool. It was way cool to see Timonen lift the cup. That was fantastic.
That was beautiful.
It was such a great moment, and it was cool to see him. I got to go to the rally, and it was cool to see him at the rally. It was cool to see all of them. And they brought Clint Reich's son out and gave him the MVP belt, which is their thing that they give out after games. They have a big heavyweight belt, and so it was just really cool, and it was just kind of interesting to see. I mean, I wasn't here before. I didn't live in Chicago before the first cup and when things were, really bad under the Bill Wirtz era, but I don't know. It's just cool to see so many people in the city still recognizing them and still really enjoying it, and just only seeing it get even better after a third cup instead of people acting like they're, bored with it or something. So it was pretty fantastic.
All right. So heading into the off season here, what do you think about your draft?
Drafting wise, I think the drafting wise was okay. I mean, they had 7 picks this year, and some of those were gained in trades. They got a pick from New York because of Kevin Hayes. Or not from New York, they got a compensation pick because of Kevin Hayes going to New York. So overall, I mean, I think they did okay. It seems like Stan Bowman really likes to, though this year he didn't draft as many, but he likes to draft people that are going into college. We've had quite a few come out of Notre Dame and other universities. I think because there is kind of a waiting period that he has more flexibility to figure out what they're going to do with them, and maybe they don't sit in Rockford quite as long if they are really good prospects. So, I mean, overall it was really good. Graham Knott was the first round pick. He was picked 54th, I think, which is, fun fact, the same pick that Duncan Keith was picked with. He's the one I'll go into the most detail about because I think he's pretty good. He's back in the OHL this season. I think he's playing for Niagara, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And he's a power winger. He's a big guy. From what I have read on elite prospects and places like that, I mean, it seems like he likes to go to the net. He uses his body, and just really, he does seem to have a bigger frame. It's not filled out yet like a lot of young guys are, but I think that's someone that, size isn't everything, but you look at the Blackhawks roster, and other than Bickle and Seabrook, they're all kind of on the smaller end, I mean, compared to a lot of teams. So I think it would be good to have someone like that. They did draft overall quite a few defensemen. I think they had 3.
Yeah, 3.
And that's good, especially as we'll get to this season. We kind of let a lot of them. We traded a lot of them, which was frustrating because I think the defensive cupboard, as it were, is now getting kind of thin. So that was good to see them draft quite a few defensemen. 2 of them, Dennis Gilbert, who's second round, and Ryan Shea are both going into university. I think Gilbert is going to Notre Dame. So they like to have guys close to home at Notre Dame, it seems. And then the other one that I was kind of excited about was Radovan Bondra. He is Slovakian, I believe, and he's now playing in Vancouver in the WHL. and he's a big power forward. And it's kind of funny because Hossa made a comment when he was at training camp that he was like born the year he was drafted, basically. um, but it's good. It's good to see someone. He probably has, I think, he has a similar ceiling to a lot of the guys they drafted in the top rounds, but he's already proven a lot of things, I think, in European leagues. I can't remember what league he was playing in previously, but yeah, I'm kind of excited about him, and he looked good at camp too. So I'm excited about him. And then let's see, the last three lower rounds, I didn't really pay much attention to be honest. I can't pronounce. Is it Radke? Radke.
Radke, something like that. Yeah.
Everybody kind of.
Roy. His name's Roy.
Yeah, Roy Radke or Radke. Everybody kind of was like, woo, because he's local boy. We gotta get excited about that, apparently. So he's back. He's in the OHL. He's a forward, and then they drafted a guy from Joni Tulila from Finland and Dahlstrom from Sweden. So good. I mean, good guys. Bowman seemed to do pretty well with this in the past, but then he trades them all away. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So the next question I have here is, so we're going into the trade you guys kind of did now. So the first trade that you guys kind of did was Antti Raanta for Ryan Haggerty. So kind of what are your thoughts on this, losing I guess really young goaltending kind of? Was he supposed to be your goaltender of the future or something, Raanta?
Raanta, I think a lot of people felt that way, but like I said before, he was never going to get consistent enough goaltending, I think, to really prove himself, at least the way Q wanted to see him prove himself. Quenneville never seemed to be like really confident in him. And I think a lot of people were sad to see him go just because I have never seen Raanta not smile. So people really liked him, and he's been around for a while too. So people kind of got attached to him, and then Darling comes in and changes all of that. So it was clear that with this move, they were saying Darling was going to stick around. They had already signed Darling to an extension last year. And at the time, we owned the rights to Nilsson before we traded them to Edmonton. So at the time, I think a lot of people thought maybe Nilsson was going to be in Rockford, even though he said he wanted to play in the NHL. So there really wasn't much Bowman could do with Raanta, and I don't think Raanta would have been happy in Rockford. So they sent him to New York, and Haggerty, looks like a good prospect. I know he spent a lot of his time in the AHL, or maybe all his time, I'm not sure, last season. But we'll see. It's at least someone to have in Rockford available for injuries. I don't really, at least from what I've read, his ceiling doesn't seem to be someone that would be on top lines in Chicago, but at least he's someone that is there and can fill in forward depth. So might as well get something out of it.
Yeah, he looks like he's just forward depth looking at his numbers. He was only in the AHL last year. I guess he was drafted recently, or undrafted. Okay. First year was 2014.
Okay.
Yeah, 33 points in 76 games. Not something to kind of write home about.
Right.
Forward. So he's definitely just a depth signing.
Mm-hmm.
So another kind of big trade, I think probably the biggest trade you guys did this offseason, was trading Brandon Saad, Michael, I'm not even going to attempt that last name. Actually, Paliota.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Alexander Broadhurst for Artem Anisimov, Jeremy Morin, Corey Tropp, and Marco Dono, and a fourth-round pick. What are your thoughts on this kind of trade? Basically just getting away Saad because he didn't want to re-sign, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of took everybody by surprise because, I mean, words are words, and people were talking about how Saad was like, oh, I want to stay in Chicago and blah, blah, blah. But I think basically what happened, and this is my opinion, I think what happened was Saad Saad's agent, I don't really think Saad had anything to do with it. I think Saad's agent and Bowman were having talks, and his agent was trying to play chicken with Bowman and did not see that Bowman would trade him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was counting on Bowman wanting to keep him, but there's no way we could have paid him what Columbus ended up paying him. It was like $6 million and AAV. So there's no way we could have afforded that. And Bowman's gotten people to stay for cheaper before. So usually when he wants to get it done, if it's close, he will. But there was just no way. So do you let someone offer sheet him and just get picks, or do you try to buff up a team, because the free agent market this summer was not fantastic.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people were like, well, you let him get picks and then you can get prospects, and I don't know. I really like the fact that Bowman at least got something for him. Mm-hmm. This has to have been a backup plan, because it's not like he just came up with Dono and Anisimov off the top of his head at the last minute. But yeah, I think it really shook a lot of people in their expectations, because Saad was kind of the silver lining. We knew we were going to be getting rid of a lot of people, but Saad was the one that we thought we were going to keep. So it kind of, and we didn't have a lot of, our left wing depth especially is kind of thin. So, yeah, as far as everybody else, Paliota was kind of a bummer as well, because we thought he was going to step in for defense potentially. I mean, because a lot of people were pretty certain that correctly, that Oduya wasn't going to come back. Roosevelt, the last time we saw Roosevelt, poor guy, his foot was facing the other direction. So it was just, and especially after losing Dahlbeck last year to the Vermette trade, it was hard to see another good defensive prospect leave. Broadhurst, he was forward depth. Really wasn't too sad about that. But getting Anisimov was good. It was good to get a center, especially after Vermette and Richards leaving, or potentially seeing that they were going to leave. So it's good to get him. And Morin, poor Jeremy Morin.
He's traded a lot, hasn't he?
Yeah, so for people that aren't familiar, Morin has been with the Blackhawks previously. He was in Rockford, and he's kind of gone up and down a lot. And he was pretty vocal last year about not getting the playing time that he wanted, which is a horrible move. So I think he requested a trade. So he went to Columbus like last fall, and I can't remember what he went for. I think just picks. I don't think we got anybody.
Tim Erickson.
Oh yeah, Erickson. Okay. Erickson was another person that we never saw anything of, and I think a lot of us thought maybe he had been kidnapped or disappeared or something. Yeah, Erickson. So so he went to Columbus, got injured, I'm pretty sure, and didn't play a whole lot. Was okay as far as I know. I didn't hear any Columbus fans thanking us for him. So
he played 28 games, so he probably was some type of injured.
Yeah. And so now he's back. And he did not get on the lineup to start the season, so that will tell you. But poor Morin. He's, I think, burned enough bridges that he's probably doomed to be in the AHL for the rest of his career unless we can trade him to someone and he can prove his worth. But yeah, he's not really going to go anywhere. And then Corey Trop, he's young at least, which is good. It looks to be probably a fourth liner or a depth guy, from what I remember. So he's currently in Rockford as well. But it's always good to get guys to kind of fill out the AHL just in case stuff happens. And then Dono, obviously, is the one that a lot of people were really excited about because he was Columbus's first-round pick. And I think he could really do well. He did well in training camp, but Q sent him down. And I know a lot of people kind of have grumbled about that. But like I said before, Tavo spent a bit of time in Rockford as well and turned out. And I think it really helped him. So I think it'll be helpful for Dono to go down and maybe learn more continue to learn about the North American system and kind of playing in the AHL, and then he can come up and have that experience. And then picks, you never know. We'll probably trade that away or buy something. I'm good to like comment on that right now, but at least I feel like it was okay given the position that Bowman was in. I feel like it was okay. So.
Yeah. All right. So the next trade on the list is Anders Nielsen for Liam Coughlin. I guess that's how you pronounce it. Any thoughts on that?
Not really. I mean, I'm not super surprised because, like I said, I think he had said that he wanted to come back from the KHL. We got his rights from the Islanders in the Leddy trade, and he wanted to come back from the KHL to play here in professional hockey. And it just, with Darling being more of a known quantity, that really wasn't going to happen. So, not surprised that they traded his rights. And Liam Coughlin, I don't know a whole lot about him. He went to Vermont. But yeah, I mean, he was a late round draft pick. It's kind of a work in progress. He's in Rockford right now, so he's a big guy, but from what have read, he's not that great of a skater, and is an okay puck mover. So, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. So next on the list, I guess this is the second biggest trade you guys had during this offseason. Patrick Sharp and Stephen Jones going for Trevor Daley and Ryan Garbutt.
Yeah, I will. This is like the trade. I don't remember where I was during the Saad trade, but I remember where I was during the Sharp trade. And I was in my hotel room. I was traveling for work, and I saw the thing on Twitter, and I literally sat up in bed and like yelled. Because I think a lot of us, everyone knew it was coming, but we were expecting it to come like in the whole free agency draft mania. Yeah. And so the fact that it came later, I think like almost a week or a week and a half later, was kind of a surprise that, maybe I think some of us kind of got into complacency that like, oh, maybe it's,
he's still here, maybe he's not going to be traded.
Right. Because I mean, really, Sharp was here. Sharp and Keith were here in the dark days, as a lot of people like to call them. So Sharp's been here the whole time. So this is really like, it's just, I don't know. It's kind of just seeing him go is kind of sad. But emotions aside, he had to go. There was nothing really that we could do. The only thing that I didn't really agree with in this trade, I guess, was the fact that maybe Bowman tried to make a hockey trade instead of making a trade for picks. And I say that because in this case, you have Sharp, who's, 34, 33?
Like that, yeah.
And he kind of had an unlucky year despite all of his statistics. He didn't really do well this year. He just seemed to be really snake-bitten during the playoffs at times, and he has a big cap hit. So, I think Bowman traded him for what he got, and the best that he could do was getting Daley and Garbutt while giving away Johns, who was one of our best defensive prospects after everyone else had left. So it was kind of, I understand why, and with the cap situation, it sucks, but I think this trade possibly could have gone a little bit better, and I think people would have complained, obviously, if Sharp had just been traded for picks, but I think that might have been the better move, because we expected Stephen Johns to come in. He played at, Notre Dame, I think, maybe not, but he had played well, and he'd been injured recently, but he's still a good defenseman, and so a lot of people had kept expecting him to come in, and so he was gone, and Trevor Daley, I think he's all over the place. He had a great offensive season last year, but in his own zone is like completely lost, which is not good for a
So not
defenseman.
what you want a defenseman at all. Yeah.
Right, and he had. I mean, Dallas was a pretty good possession team last year, and Daly's numbers were awful. And he even had. I mean, he was playing. He and who was he with? Shoot, Goligoski.
Okay. So one of
I
their
think.
better defensemen actually there.
Yeah, and so they got pretty tough competition, but they had pretty reasonable zone starts. I looked at the numbers when he first got traded, but you know, a lot of people were thinking, well, with Jalmerson or Seabrook, like they could really help. They're gonna have to like carry a lot of the weight, but you know they could really help. Well, he's with Trevor Van Riemsdyk, which don't get me wrong, is a great kid, and I think is gonna do really well, but he's not Nicholas Jalmerson. So they're the bottom pair right now. So they're really kind of struggling, I think. And yeah, we'll see. I was not excited, still not excited. And a lot of people were comparing him coming in to Oduya coming in, but Oduya came in as because Oduya had worse possession stats before he came in to the Blackhawks, but he came in as an Olympian and from a New Jersey team that he had decent. I mean, he wasn't doing as badly number wise as Daly was. He was bad. He wasn't that bad. So I don't know. I'm still not very happy about that one. And Garbett serves a purpose. That purpose is not on the top line, which is where he's
Say,
been.
wasn't he on your top line at least during our game when we
Yeah.
played last week?
Oh my God. It's like you look at the lineup. If you look at the lineup from the fourth line start and going up, you're like, oh, okay, you got okay. That like, ooh, what is that? Why is he there? He was scratched during the Washington game, but at Dallas he was with Eakin and Roussel, I think a lot of the times, and he had rough zone starts and hard competition, and he's a good fourth line guy, and I think he could do okay if they would put him in that role and not put him with Taze and Hossa. Poor Taze and Hossa are like, what the hell is going on? And also the Stars are eating half of Garbett's salary, which is important. But this trade puts Bowman's summer kind of down closer to like a C for me because I just didn't like this trade at all. I was not a fan. So.
All right. And the final trade that you guys did during this offseason, Chris Versteeg and Joachim Nordstrom in a third round in 2017 to the Hurricanes for Dennis Robertson, Jake Massey, and a fifth round in 2017. So you're losing the great, Chris Versteeg here, who seems to keep boomeranging back to your team.
Yeah, he was a casualty in the last great salary cap.
Wasn't he like last two salary caps? Because he left during after the 2010 one to go to Toronto. Did he leave after your second Stanley Cup? Or was he still here after that?
Oh man, I don't know. I have to look that up.
Yeah, he left after 2010, came back in 2013, so he wasn't on your team during that second Stanley Cup, I guess.
Yeah. He came back. Yeah, and Florida was taking half of his salary.
Mm-hmm.
I was not. So I'm not too sad to lose Versteeg, to be honest. I mean, I wasn't really happy that he came back. Because when you have a guy that has been on he was on 3 teams in 3 seasons, and then Florida is like, we will eat half this guy's salary, please take him. So I was not really super excited about that. But he did pretty good, and he had good moments. And Nordstrom has been on the fourth line. He's been in Rockford a lot. The only thing that's sad about Versteeg and Nordstrom going is we will no longer get to see them rap together awfully. Actually, that's probably a good thing. A lot of people call Versteeg Macklemore around here because he A, kind of looks like him, and B, likes to rap. Not very well. So Um, yeah, this one was kind of an afterthought, and a lot of people was like, oh, yeah, that had to happen. We had to get rid of more people. To be honest, I have not looked too much into either Robertson or Massey. They're both in Rockford, I believe.
Looks like Robertson is. Massey does not have a Wikipedia page, so I have no idea where he is.
I'll look up. Hold on. Yeah, so I don't know where he is now. Last year, um, was he like just drafted?
I have no idea.
Looks
The
like he was like,
prospects. He was
yeah,
97, so he could have been just 2015 sixth
he's
round. He
just
was just
drafted.
drafted, so he's probably
So,
down in the juniors. No, he's in college, UMass.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
they
at
don't have it
UMass.
updated. And he's a defenseman. So, um, yeah.
Right. So not much is known about him.
Yeah, not really.
Kids in 97 are now being drafted. God.
I know. Isn't that? Ugh, that's scary.
Uh,
All right.
so now looking at who you guys have re-signed during this off season. Michael Roosevelt, Marcus Kruger, Viktor Svedberg. Kind of go one by one and talk about how you feel about all three being re-signed.
Roosevelt. Roosevelt. Yeah, like I said, when he has his moments, good moments. But and I think people are harder on him than they should be. But um, it's just like I said, the last time they re-signed him in the middle, I think right around training camp, if I remember correctly, and he hadn't skated yet at that point. So that kind of worried me when they had a chance to did they have a chance to look at all the defensive prospects and it's like our best chance is this guy that like got ankle surgery and hasn't skated since. Um, that was really I don't know. I don't know how I feel. He's apparently skating today. I'm not sure if he's going to be playing or not. I don't think he's in the lineup tonight, but yeah, I don't know. It's just more cap room for unnecessary people, in my opinion. I was kind of hoping he would retire because he's age-wise he's there, and I mean, not a great player, but he's won cups, so go be happy in your retirement
Just give
elsewhere.
up your dream and go away.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I was not excited. Kruger took way too long to get re-signed. And they like re-signed Nordstrom before they traded him, and we were all like, "What are you doing? You should be using that money to sign Kruger." And so I'm really happy he's back. He took a huge pay cut. I think his salary is only like it's less than $1 million for a year, I think. Um, so that was great. And Kruger has always talked about how he really wanted to stay with the Blackhawks, and oh no wait, oh I'm wrong, 1,500. Maybe I was thinking of Desjardins. Anyway, um, or 1.5 million was his contract. So yeah, I was happy to see him back. Like I said before, he's a great fourth line checking center, fantastic penalty killer. Plays a role, seems to know his role, and seems to enjoy it. So I'm super glad that he's back, and it kind of helps solidify the bottom six a little bit more going forward.
All right.
And
So
who else? Oh,
yep,
Svedberg.
Svedberg.
Oh.
Yes.
Um, he's a prospect. He quickly became one of our better defensive prospects since all the other ones went to like Arizona and Texas and places like that. But he's okay. He's a huge guy. He is enormous. I think he's as tall, if not maybe slightly taller than Scott Darling, who's like 6'5". Like he's getting close to Chara height, not Chara build, but he's pretty tall, and
She was 6'9". Jeez.
yeah, he's huge. Um, but he's also slow. um, both
Well, 234 pounds, you would expect that.
Yeah, both in feet and also just his making decisions on the ice. That does not happen very quickly.
Right.
He gets caught a lot in the transition. He screens his own goalie way too much. The other night, I can't remember if we were playing Flyers or if we were playing Capitals. Maybe it was the Capitals game where he screened Darling twice, and
If it
they.
was Darling, it wasn't against us then.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So he screened Darling twice, and Capitals scored twice on both of those. And they were shots that were from far away, and Darling had no chance to see them. But then he went and scored a goal. So I just like. I'm not a huge fan of his, but they seem to like him right now better than Rundblad. So he's been playing with Seabrook, I think. Um, so he's okay. I mean, really, he shouldn't be in the top four, but it is what it is, and we really don't have anybody else. So.
All right. So, looking at the players you lost now during this offseason, Johnny Oduya, Anton Vermette, and Brad Richards all got re-signed. So, one by one, how does this hurt your team losing those three players?
Um, well, I'd say a lot of these we kind of thought were going to happen anyway. Not surprised that Oduya left because he knew that he could get more elsewhere than we were going to give him. So, of course, he went to go be with Sharp, and they gave him, I think, $3.25 million a year. So couldn't have afforded that. And same thing for Vermette. We couldn't keep him either as much as I would have liked to. He went back to Arizona for $3.75 million, I think, for a couple of years. So, and Richards. Some people thought Richards might come back for another pay cut, but once we got Anisimov from Columbus, then a lot of people, and then I think then after that people weren't as concerned whether or not he returned because Anisimov fits in good as a second line center. So yeah, he went to Detroit, and it's just the reality of the situation. Cap era, you just can't keep those people as much as you would want to. So.
Yeah, you also lost two players to retirement, but none are really of consequence to your team, I don't feel. Dan Carcillo and Timonen, but I don't feel like either are kind of consequence.
No, we couldn't have. Timonen, I think, obviously,
He made it clear that he wasn't coming back,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, and Carcillo, we really couldn't have done a whole lot with him, to be honest, and I think, too, especially with, hopefully a lot of people saw his Players Tribune video that he did about Montour.
Yeah.
I think this season really took an emotional toll on him. So it's, it is what it is, and yeah, we probably couldn't have, paid either of them if they had decided to stay. So.
Yeah. And the kind of final thing your team did this offseason, signing Brent Seabrook to a big contract, 8 years, worth $55 million. Kind of, what are your thoughts on that contract?
There have been a lot of thoughts on Seabrook's contract. Overall, it's Brent Seabrook. I mean, yeah, he has. I would say now even potentially Hjalmarsson has kind of, as far as average performance, Hjalmarsson has maybe kind of pushed past him a little bit. But because Seabrook does, when he is struggling, he does struggle, and we've seen that before. But it's Brent Seabrook. He's still great. I mean, you're not going to easily find someone else to take his place. And if he wanted to go elsewhere, he could for a lot of money. So, the only thing I don't really like is all these long contracts that Stan keeps dishing out. But because we're still going to have a cap issue next summer and probably the summer after that. So we have all these people that are on the salary for a long, long time. I think someone said something crazy, like in 2020 we have like it's a huge amount of the salary devoted to like only 6 people because of Tays and Kane and Crawford and everything. And it's gonna, Bowman can keep playing his magic or thinking he's gonna weave his way out of it, but I worry that at some point it's gonna bite him in the ass even harder than it is right now.
Well, you have
Um,
7 contracts currently signed up to that point.
yeah,
So,
that's kind of what I thought. So, I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he re-signed. We needed him. We need him next year. But uh, in the long term, we'll see. We'll see what Bowman can do with all of this that he has created. So yeah. I mean, I'm happy. I'm glad he's back, and I'm glad they got it out of the way so that they can kind of be thinking about the salary cap already for next year because they have some of their bigger UFAs signed already.
mhm. All right. So, looking at this offseason entirety, do you feel good about it? And what do you give a grade for the offseason?
Um, Overall, I mean, like I said before, with the salary cap, you have to do what you can with the hand you're dealt. It wasn't Bowman's fault that the Canadian dollar went down. Um, and I can't even imagine the kind of pain not only us but other teams would be in if the extender hadn't been used.
Oh yeah,
Um,
the cap would have
but
went down. So,
yeah, it would have been just pretty bad. So overall I would probably give him. I'd probably give like a low B, B minus, because he did what he could with what he had. But then there were trades like Sharp that I thought, you just gotta at some point you have to just get what you can. It's it's just a moot point, and you can't just keep trying to force yourself into amazing trades. So he's had a lot, Bickle. They put Bickle on waivers. I think that waiver. I think he has 2 more weeks if they want to send him down, but he's been. I'm pretty sure he's probably been trying to get rid of him all summer, and he just can't. So, you don't know what happens in that room, but I feel like maybe he could have gotten out of this without losing quite as many prospects as he did. But overall, everything is okay.
all right. So, looking into this season coming up, that already started, so you kind of saw a kind of sneak peek of what your team is doing. Looking at kind of what's happened so far, what do you expect from this team? Do you see them as a
uh,
playoff team?
do I see them as a what?
Playoff team.
Yes, I would say yes.
Okay.
Even in their worst years, like 2011. I mean, not their worst years. Their worst years since they won their first cup. Their worst years with Tays and Kane kind of getting into their peaks. I think even then, the worst thing was that awful Arizona series. But um, I think yeah, they're going to be playoff contenders. We may not think so for a while because I think like last season, this season could be on the ice pretty rough, as we've already seen. Half the team is gone, and people have to get used to playing with new people. Some lines are completely different than they've been before. Um, and the defense, the top three, I will say, are really strong, but then you have kind of some to the
Did
Blackhawks system. What?
your mic cut out there for a second.
Oh, okay.
So,
Um, yeah, so I think they will be in the playoffs, and you know, it's so hard to tell at the beginning of the season, but I want to say they will probably go into. I think they'll make it past the first round and get into the second.
okay.
But I would be surprised if they went into conference finals. And it also depends on what everybody else in the Central does.
Hmm.
But um, I'd say yeah, they're playoffs, probably second round. Um, Anything more than that would be fantastic.
All right. So, what do you think of this season so far with how your team's been playing? Are they living up to a kind of standard that you've set looking at them going into it?
I think um, a lot of people, I think, knew that this was going to be pretty rough to start out with this season. It doesn't make it any easier to watch it,
Hmm.
but yeah, they've struggled. They were good. They were decent against the Islanders, um, and they were. Um, yeah, Flyers was not great.
It wasn't a
Uh,
bad game.
that
I
was a
mean,
bad game.
your power play didn't do anything.
No,
Uh,
that's always struggled. As between the two special teams, the power play's always been the worst.
mhm. But you kind of can't fault them with the brick wall that is the Leviathan kind of setting up shop.
Yeah. 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 I mean, so far they're doing okay.
Hmm.
They still have things to figure out, um, and I think there's a lot of things that they need to work on, but it's not far off from what I expected, to be honest. So,
Okay. So, do you think your team is a cup contending this team?
as a team and an organization, I probably not this season, but I think as long as Taze and Kane and Keith and all those people are in their dominant periods, then they will always have the potential to come back and be a cup contender. Um, I think we have probably an estimate. I think we probably have like 2 or 3 more years with Keith being dominant. I mean, he'll still be good, but and then Kane and Taze, they still have a few more years as well before they kind of start to hit the typical trail off period. So I think for the next 3 4 years they have a chance to always contend, just as long as they can get the depth that they need to support them.
Okay.
So, but probably not this year.
Okay. So that's all the questions I have for you, unless Blake has something.
Dave, there is one key moment of the Blackhawks offseason that while it's certainly a very
Okay.
delicate, very
I don't
delicate.
think we want to cover that, which is kind of why I didn't want to ask about it.
Well,
I
well,
kind of
no.
said during our kind of a prep before when I was talking to her about coming on the show that we wouldn't talk about it. So
Are you
just
sure?
yeah,
I,
it's
I,
a
I
very delicate situation, and I'm not really comfortable with the whole thing with it. I don't know if
all right.
Emma. I know Emma kind of felt the same way about it when we were talking about that.
Oh, I didn't notice any of that then.
Yeah.
Well, we all know it's going on, and we all have our opinions on that. So,
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you wanted to ask her?
nope.
Okay. So Isaac, if you want to unmute yourself, we can
I'm here.
get started on the Habs interview we have now. So go ahead, Blake.
All right. First, begin with the brief summary of the 2014-2015 Montreal Canadiens season.
I mean, it was definitely a season. It started off the same way this season started off, and that was against the Leafs. Max Pacioretty coming down the right wing side, shooting in at Bernier and having it go in for a shot. Um, the team hasn't looked bad for a while. 1 second. Sorry, my bad. And so the team hasn't looked bad. They had a bunch of ups and downs last season. Most notably, the oh my god, I forget me. You know what? Forget it. Most notably, Tyrion's coaching, I feel, stood in the way of a lot of things that Montreal could have accomplished, especially coming out strong like they did in this season before in the Rangers series, where Price was allegedly run by Kreider. So they came out really strong out of the previous season, and I felt like they carried that momentum, starting with Price coming back from injury early, which was always good. And I mean, Montreal didn't really do much last season. There were a couple games where they looked great, but Tyrion, who most Habs fans call French Carlisle, did a lot to stand in the way of how Montreal played last season. His systems are really outdated. I mean, it also, in his defense, it didn't help when there were a bunch of players coming in and out, like, Brian Allen and Torrey Mitchell at the end of the season, Tangrady at the start. I mean, he didn't have a bunch to work with at the start, especially since Montreal doesn't have a second top six winger other than Pacioretty. So it was very up and down for Tyrion, but on the back of Carey Price, of course, they were able to make it second place in the East behind the Rangers. So that was always very good. My only real gripe with the season, other than Tyrion's coaching, is that Bergevin didn't go out and acquire another top six winner. He tried the season before when he picked up Vanek, and he couldn't sign him because he wanted to go to Minnesota to play. And I'm actually kind of happy he did, because I don't think he would fit in really well with how Montreal's trying to play this season. So I think that's completely fine. Other than that, I mean, if Desharnais wasn't playing first line center the majority of the season, that would have been great, because you had Pacioretty, Desharnais, and Gallagher playing together a lot of the season. Then you had Galchenyuk, who should have been playing center, but Tyrion refused to play him at center last season. You had him playing with Plekanec and whoever else they decide to play on that line, like Dale Weiss or Seacatch at the start of the season. I'm sure Pruss got a second line look because, of course, he did. And then you had Eller, whoever you threw on that third line left wing, and then guys like Bourneval on that second right wing. But he only played a handful of games. Bourneval, he only played 3 games. It was more. Oh no, never mind. I was looking at goals. Bourneval played 29 games, so he had a decent look with the Habs. Parenteau played on that third line left wing with Eller at center, and then they had whoever wasn't playing second line right wing on the third line. Most notably, they usually used Pruss on the third line left wing and Parenteau on the third line right wing. And then De La Rose played center at the start of the season for the fourth line. And then it's really hard to just remember the lines that Montreal used, just because Tyrion pulled out his blender every other game to make lines work for whatever reason he had to. Defensively this season, I thought they looked okay. They weren't very good, but they weren't horrible. They got outshot a lot, but you can attribute most of that to the systems they were playing. They were playing a lot of dump and chase, turn the puck over type. But you had Markov, Subban, and that was Subban who had just signed his monster $9 million deal with the Habs. Man, we played with Markov, and that was a great pair, and they usually always are. Markov has the ability to make everybody he plays with better. Like when he was paired with Komisarek, like a long time ago, made Komisarek into an all-star, and then Komisarek was able to go to the Leafs and make too much money. And Markov was good with that, so it's great that they were playing with Subban, although I don't think they should have last season, because Markov is starting to show signs of him slowing down. He's still extremely consistent, but he's not the D-man he was like a couple years ago. Emelin was usually playing with the revolving door of a second pairing defenseman they picked up. They had Brian Allen come in briefly. Gonchar was picked up. He played more than half the season, but usually played with Gilbert. Emelin Gilbert was the second pairing. And that wasn't a horrible pairing. I wish that Emelin wasn't a second pairing defenseman, but he did his job. He was a shutdown guy, took too many penalties, but he was able to get under the Bruins' skin when they played, and that's always good. That's what you need in a defenseman like him. For those who didn't know, Emelin has some sort of a metal plate in his face, so it's always nerve-wracking when he gets into situations that put his face in danger. But third pairing was usually Gonchar or Bolya, who was called up near the start of the season and sat out a couple games, but he was pretty consistent. Not as much offense from him as they wanted, but he still did a good job for the limited minutes he played under Tyrion, because he doesn't really play his fourth line or his bottom pairing. But the defense was improved once they picked up Petrie from the Oilers. He really elevated the defense, and it was able to bump Emelin or Gilbert, whatever Tyrion felt like. It was able to bump them down to the third line, and that was one of Bergevin's better trades at the deadline, was picking up Petrie for a second and a conditional fifth. I'm not really sure what the condition was on that fifth, but he did a good job with that. He didn't pick up another good scorer that I feel like the Habs needed to really push them over the top and be more of a threat. I mean, there's not really much to talk about in terms of the season. They were a pretty consistent team. They would win close games, and when they lost, they were just able to shake it up. They had a really good season. They weren't the most beautiful team to watch a lot of the nights. They would get outshot and outplayed, which is why, like I said, there are most people called Tyrion French Carlisle, because he just wouldn't change his systems, and they seem really outdated.
Well, my goodness. I asked for a brief overview of the season, and you went on with the forward and defense as well. Efficient.
I had to make sure I covered everything.
Yes. One thing I didn't hear, though, and we can continue in from there. Speaking of the goaltending, of course, Carey Price, another dominant season for the Canadiens, but especially last season as well, with Price out with injury during the playoffs. Started to see more of the emergence of backups as well, namely Dustin Tokarski, who suits up for the Habs again this season. Talk Tokarski, talk Price.
Well, Tokarski is actually suiting up for the St. John's Ice Caps. They sent him down earlier. They called up Mike Condon, who played for the Bulldogs last season. But to be honest, it's not a huge deal. They can interchange both of them. They just felt like Condon's the better goalie at this point, and I'm actually surprised no one picked up Tokarski, because he's not a bad backup goalie. He does his job well. He was pretty great when Price was injured in the playoffs a couple seasons ago. Yeah. Goaltending-wise, Budaj 2 seasons ago was a great backup. They moved him to Winnipeg at the start of the season last year, where Winnipeg immediately waived him and sent him down, and I don't think he won a game last season in the AHL, which is pretty crazy. But he's in LA. He's in their Ontario, wherever their AHL team is, I think. So not all hope is lost for PD Blue Dye. But yeah, Tokarski, he wasn't great last season, but he also wasn't horrible. He had a 2.75 goals against average and a .910 save percentage. So, he's a standard backup. He went 6-6-4. I mean, it's kind of hard because Tokarski's notable for being good when he's playing for long stretches of time or when he knows he can be the guy. In Montreal, that's just not happening. So it was hard for him to really get something going when he would play a game and have to sit on the bench for a while. But yeah, like Carey Price, he cleaned up at the NHL awards. What do you win? The Vezina, the Jennings, and something else. The Lindsay, and the Hart. This guy cleaned up. So if you need one answer for the Habs' success last season, then you can look at Carey Price. He got a 1.96 goals against and a 933 save percentage. He was pretty great to say the least.
All right. And rounding out the team overview, the review of last season, you've already had a few things to say about him, a few interesting things to say about him, certainly. But now we go more into detail, discussing head coach Michel Therrien and the Canadiens coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, coaching staff is fine. I love their goalie coach, Stefan Waite. There's been a lot of Carey Price's success. He said Waite has helped him with that. I think they got him from Chicago. I believe that's where he coached. Yeah, he was Chicago's goalie coach for almost 10 years. Came to Montreal in the 2013-2014 season. So he was a great he's a great coach as far as I've heard. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't really know. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which assistant coach does what. But the Habs power play wasn't that good last season, and so I feel like they could improve there, but they didn't make a single change coaching wise, so I expect it to look the same this season. But with a team that doesn't have a lot of offensive players, but has enough, I guess, the power play shouldn't look as weak as it did last season. It was the most non-threatening thing in the world. And when you have a player like Subban too, who can skate circles around everyone, that's not how you want your power play looking. They would get in the zone, pass it around forever, and then just have a pass picked off and have it sent back on the ice. Yeah, and like I said before, Michel Therrien, head coach. It's hard to argue with a 50-22 and 10 record from last season, but I feel like he could do a better job as long as he updates his systems. I have nothing against him, and it's hard in Montreal too when you're handicapped with having to you're handicapped with having to have a French coach or a bilingual coach. So I don't know how many there are out there, and so Therrien may be the best one there is currently. So Montreal has that challenge, so it's not as easy to just say, oh, pick up Babcock, pick up Hitchcock when he's fired, Blake. And so, most Habs don't like Therrien too much, because he just refuses to change. And he'll change his players in and out all the time, and he will mix up the lines for fun, but he will not change his systems. And I feel like he's fooled by how well the Habs have done. that he just assumes that his systems are good, and he hasn't thought about how they actually are playing. But I mean, he gets paid to coach a professional hockey team, and I don't.
And moving down the board now, offense or forward, defense, goaltending, and coaching. Your grades for how each unit performed in the past season.
Forward wise, I'd give them roughly a B. Max Pacioretty had a great season, 67 points in 80 games, which is pretty good considering he played with David Desharnais most of the season, who's a third line center, maybe even a winger. Uh, so the fact that he was able to put up that many points is kind of like the Phil Kessel effect in Toronto, having your decent center play with your best winger and having them produce. Thomas Plekanec had another consistent year. He's been nothing but consistent ever since he was a core in quotes Montreal Canadian. Brendan Gallagher kind of had a quote unquote breakout year. He had 47 points in 82 games for a guy that most people think is a third liner. He's shown top six capabilities, and he's a pest. So that's pretty great when he's like tiny like he is. Alex Galchenyuk was good. Just he played wing, which I didn't like because they drafted him saying this guy is going to be our future #1 center, and then 2-3 years later you're having him play wing. But I can't really complain. He had a pretty good season. So overall, I'd give the Habs offense a B or a B plus. Defensively, I'd give them more of a B plus to A minus type because, like I said earlier, PK Subban, Andrei Markov, great players, love them. Don't want to see them in any other jersey than a Habs jersey. Bergman made the addition of Jeff Petrie, like I noted, and he was great. He wasn't amazing offensively, but he was able to get the job done as a Hab, and that was pretty good. Considering that all you gave up was a second and a fifth, you can't have that high of an expectation. The one guy I was really interested in was Greg Patterson, who spent years down in the AHL. He was a part of the deal that sent Mikhail Grabowski to the Leafs, and he was called up late in the season, and he looked good for a 6-7 guy, and it looks like he's staying full-time this season too. So I'd give them a B plus to A minus. Goaltending-wise, it's hard to give them anything other than an A plus, but I'm giving them an A just because of Tokarski being only decent. But considering how well Price did, it doesn't really matter how your backup's doing because Price is gonna win you enough games, he's gonna win you enough games to make sure that backup goalies don't really matter. So yeah, I give the Habs goaltending an A. Am I doing coaching too? Because coaching,
Yes.
I give coaching a C, roughly, maybe a CC plus, because of Tyrion, but at the same time, Stefan Waite and his goalie magic is pretty amazing. That is, if Price is just being honest and not humble like he usually is. But Tyrion we could have a worse coach out there. Tyrion's not as bad as most people say, but he's certainly not as good as most people say. So I'd give them a C, hoping for them to improve this season.
And now we move into the off-season, and we begin with the topic of player transactions, trades, and free agency signings and departures. And excuse me. And we begin with trades. The Canadiens only had one this off-season, July the 1st. A noticeably busy trading day, July the 1st. The Canadiens sent Brandon Prust to Vancouver, and in return acquired Zach Kassian and a 2016 fifth-round pick. Discuss losing Prust and gaining Kassian.
Prust was a guy that I and most Habs fans really liked. He wasn't he wouldn't put up goals and he wouldn't put up assists, but he was a serviceable fourth liner. He was getting paid like a fringe third, I believe. So it's like losing him wasn't the end of the world, but I would prefer to have kept him, especially if you're getting Zach Kassian. But Bergevin likes redemption stories for the most part. He likes taking players and trying to make them better. So, I mean, it was kind of a wash trade. So I'm not too upset with losing Press. Now, the fact that Kassian is even in the lineup because of the car accident and breaking his foot and things like that makes it a little tougher to swallow that you gave up Prust. But, I mean, even if you were to remove Kassian, I feel like Prust for a fifth-round pick isn't too bad considering the amount of talent that's in the league now. And it doesn't seem like Montreal is losing sleep over it. So, yeah, I don't mind that trade at all. And, yeah, I think I would have preferred to keep Prust, but I'm not too upset about losing him.
Dave, did you hear my voice change there for a bit? I felt my voice change there for a bit. Like when you have a little bit of mucus in there and it sounds like you inhaled some helium, That's what my voice felt like it sounded like. Listen back on this episode, see if that happened. That would be a great audio cut. Anyway, free agency signings and free agency departures now. The Canadiens, they are a different looking team, or a whole lot of new faces, especially on the forward unit, with the additions of Kassian, Torrey Mitchell, Alexander Semin. The big three there gained from free agency. Kind of expand on that.
Well, I think they traded for Flynn and Mitchell. Yeah, they traded on the trade deadline. They got Flynn and Mitchell from the Sabres in two separate trades that day, which I found pretty strange. Yeah, they're Flynn and Mitchell are serviceable fringe third liners. They're not going to put you points, but they can play third line minutes if you desperately need them to. But they'll definitely make the Habs fourth line better, especially since they claimed Paul Byron off waivers from Calgary last week. So it looks like they're pretty stocked with fourth line talent. So I expect them to look better, and they'll be able to roll all four lines this season instead of having to roll three and then casually put the fourth out there. Who else? Semin I really wanted them to pick up. After I heard he was bought out by Carolina, I instantly thought he was going to the KHL. But it was good when somehow, I think it was Markov that convinced him to sign in Montreal. So I hope he can have a bounce back season and really contribute. Even if he puts up maybe like 20 goals and 20 assists, even like half a point per game, give or take, that'll be a complete win for $1.1 million, and I'll take that deal all day. Who else did we add here? That was about it for the most part, the most notable guys, unless through trade we had Smith Pelly for Seacatch, which I didn't really like too much. I would have preferred if we kept Seacatch because I like his skill set, but Bergevin talked about making the Habs a bigger team, so he went out and got Smith Pelly for Seacatch. And it seemed like even when they traded Prust for Kassian, he wants to make the Habs a bigger team, but he also wants to keep them skilled. So that is how he wants to make the team.
And now, free agency departures. Discuss any departures that have occurred this offseason.
Do you have the list of who we lost? Because I'm not too sure off the top of my head of everyone we lost. I know we lost Parento, we lost Malhotra, Brian Allen, Sergei Gonchar. You know what? I had the hockey DB here, so I'll just look at players who aren't on the team anymore. Mike Weaver. All right, so we lost P.A. Parento. He went to Toronto, and he wasn't awful, but Tyrion, for some reason, what was said throughout the season when he signed in Toronto, it seemed like Tyrion didn't like him too much. I'm not sure what happened, but once you're in Tyrion's doghouse, it's almost impossible to get out. So P.A. Parento wasn't a bad player while he was here. I mean, we got him for Briere, and we got a pick with him too, so it wasn't too hard to accept that he was benched. But I liked him, and I wish he played more, and I hope he does well in Toronto this season. We also lost Sergei Gonchar, who we only had for the cap space, and that was needed for this offseason. We were giving people raises, so we traded Travis Moen. I think it was just Travis Moen. Yeah, we traded Travis Moen for Sergei Gonchar, and he came from Dallas. And that was a pretty good trade if you were thinking about like Travis Moen for some cap space at the end of the season. Because Gonchar only played a handful of games as a seventh defenseman, and I literally mean seventh defenseman because Tyrion played 13 forwards or so. He played, however, 11 forwards, 7 defensemen. So he made sure that Gonchar was sheltered and played. And Gonchar was actually on a trial with Pittsburgh, but it seemed like his career's over. We also lost Manny Malhotra, who I completely forgot played for the Habs last season. He was a decent fourth line center in most situations. He, whenever you need a defensive zone draw, you would just send out Malhotra and then get him off the ice. Mike Weaver we also lost, and I feel like his most notable contribution to Montreal was carrying around the cardboard cutout of Max Pacioretty and giving it away near the end of the season last year. He was pretty forgettable too. So I don't think we lost too much talent here. Finally, or at least the last guy I can see here. Most notable guy I can see here was Brian Allen, who was traded for Bork in another one of those Gonchar type deals where they traded him. It only took him back for some salary purposes and then just let him walk. Allen played 5 games for the Habs and was promptly sent down to Hamilton where he played the rest of the season. So we lost a handful of guys, but none of them were really earth-shattering. I really felt like they should have kept Parento, but I can understand why he didn't want to stay if he wasn't getting played.
All right. And off topic here for a bit, just to instill a little fun into this podcast. Emma favorites my tweet, which was the blank stare face emoji that I just now tweeted. Emma, do you know the context of that tweet?
No, I don't. But I just thought it was random.
Isaac, the Blue Jays, they had runners on first and
Yeah,
second.
I'm watching it. That's kind of why I'm stuttering.
Oh my goodness.
I'm watching the game out of the corner of my eye and talking.
Oh boy. It's gonna be a long day, I imagine.
I mean,
for the Blue Jays.
Yeah, I'm not too worried. Second time through the lineup, they're usually
the price is right, folks.
Oh, I hope he can win a playoff game finally.
Yes. Where were we? Oh yes, okay. Rounding out the free agency topic, the re-signings that occurred within the Montreal organization. Discuss the re-signings.
We signed Brendan Gallagher long term, which I like because his contract may look like a steal. He's only making the average is 3.75, until 2021, which is comical when you think about how long that contract is for a guy like Gallagher. But he's only 23, and it seems like he really likes Montreal, so it was a good raise for him, and it keeps Montreal on a cheap payroll for at least a couple more years. Who else we signed? Alex Galchenyuk we signed to a bridge deal at 2.8. It's good that he's playing center now because that's third, second line center money. So as long as he can live up to that contract, I'm kind of worried about when he's done as an RFA in 2 years. I think we resigned. Yeah, we resigned Torrey Mitchell. 3-year deal, 1.2 million average. Easy to move if you need to, but that's good third, fourth line center money. I have absolutely no problem with that contract, and that's the thing with most Bergevin deals. He's really good at negotiating deals. I can't really think of an absolutely horrible one, considering the highest paid forward on the team is Thomas Plekanec at $5 million for the rest of the season. That's pretty comical. Also, while I was looking at the general manager page, I forgot about one free agent signing. That was Thomas Fleischmann, who we got on a tryout, and he looked good in preseason, so we were able to sign him for 1 year, $750,000. That was a good deal. Other re-signings: Nathan Beaulieu, 2 years at $1 million. And that was a pretty fantastic. Well, it's fantastic because it's short term, but that was a good deal for a guy that played a handful of games before being sent down and being called back up again. That was really good for him. Hopefully, he can stick as the number 5-6 defenseman. I'm trying to think of any other notable re-signings. I cannot think of any. Doesn't seem like there were any other notable re-signings other than the one that happened yesterday, which was the Thomas Plekanec re-signing for 2 years at $6 million, which was a really good deal in my eyes. He gets a nice little raise there. Montreal keeps a solid French first line center. It keeps everyone happy. No need to worry about it. So I like that deal. Some people are saying he's a bit overpaid, and even if he is, Montreal's not in a situation where they need a whole bunch of cap space soon. The core of their team is locked up long term. Pacioretty signed until 2018-2019. Subban signed until 2022. Price is signed until 2018-2019. So the team is fine long term. So yeah, that's their re-signings.
All right, I see Dave getting in on the phone with that tweet there as well. Everybody go check out our HockeyCast Twitter account, see what we're discussing there.
Yeah, I figured I'd retweet it so everyone know what we were talking about.
Yes. I'd imagine Isaac had the same face seeing that out of the corner of his eye there.
It's hard to talk about the Habs and look at all these stats and cap numbers and at the same time watch the game. I don't know what's going on right now.
Oh, you're attempting to quadruple cast. Or
Yeah.
Quadruple task.
That was a good swing there.
Mm.
But yeah. So what do we have next there?
The second major portion of the offseason, the NHL entry draft, the Montreal Canadiens with the 26th overall pick in the first round selected a defenseman, Noah Juulsen, and that was the first pick for the Canadiens in that draft. Discuss Juulsen, discuss the Canadiens in the draft.
I have nothing against Juulsen. I think he'll be a fine defenseman, but Montreal doesn't need defensemen. It's not like they're a team like Toronto, Edmonton, Buffalo, where you can't draft for need. Montreal's a team that is allowed to draft for need. That's why 2 years ago when they picked up Sherbak, or they drafted Sherbak, it was good because they need more top six scorers. A guy like Juleson, who's not listed to become a first liner, or not first liner, but a first pairing defenseman. He's projected to be more of a second pairing defenseman. It's a questionable pick, but it's not. I mean, when you look at some of the guys that were drafted after him in the draft, or at least in the first round, that is, I can't think of anybody else. Of course, as time will go on, we will find that random Detroit pick in the 5th round. His name is Chase Pearson. I know nothing about him now, but I give it 3 years, and he will look like the better player, because of course he will. And yeah, so Juleson looks like he'll be a fine player. He had 52 points in 68 games as a defenseman last season. This season, he has 5 points in 4 games, 2 goals, 3 assists. So I would have preferred if Montreal drafted one of those forwards, like a Nick Merkley, or if they wanted to keep somebody, if they wanted to draft a Frenchman, because we all know how well that worked out last time, Louis LeBlanc. They could have picked up Anthony Beauvillier from the Shawinigan, however you say that team name. But the Islanders picked him up, A guy like him, or even a guy like Daniel Sprong, as we're seeing this season. So, yeah, that's our first pick. I can't say I know too much about the later round picks. We have Lucas Vejdimo, who came from, I don't know if I'll embarrass myself trying to pronounce this, Djurgårdens IF from the Swedish Hockey League. Hockey League has him listed as a center. We have Matthew Bradley, who was selected in the 5th round. He's a center. He played for the Medicine Hat Tigers. He seems to be one of those players that won't put up too many points. He seems like one of those good old leadership locker room guys, Yeah, I can't say I know too much about him either. And then with our 7th round pick, we have Jeremiah Addison, who played left wing for the Ottawa 67. Another guy that scored under a point per game in junior, which isn't always the greatest thing. At that point, I was hoping that they were going to pick who the Leafs picked in the 7th round, but he unfortunately did not drop that low. And 7th round picks, there's no point in nitpicking over them because very few of them actually make the NHL. So overall, I'd like to say Montreal did decent in the draft, but the draft isn't really a thing that Montreal needs to be concerned about too much. For them, it's more free agent signings and trades. I would like to say in the 2014 draft, they did pick the best hockey name though. In the 6th round, they selected a goalie called Hayden Hockey. So if that guy doesn't make the NHL, that's going to be mildly infuriating.
Wow. And your grade for how the Canadiens drafted in this past draft?
I'd give it more of a C to B. It's not a huge, like I said before, it's not a huge deal how they drafted right now because their cup window is now, so they need to be more concerned about that than 2-3 years down the road when these guys are actively playing in your system. So I think it's too early to give them a proper grade, so I'll just throw a C at them and call it a day.
All right, and we now move into this season, which is, of course, well underway. Give us your reports on how the Canadiens have fared so far in the first couple of weeks of the season.
We can talk about that, or we can talk about how the Jays just had 2 back-to-back doubles,
They did have that, yes. That's pretty great.
It's that bandwagon help there.
Kevin Pillar, 1-0 Toronto. Woo!
And yes, so what we're talking about this season?
Yes.
All right, so this season, I like the look of their team. I like how they've added more skill and guys like Fleischman and Seven on the Chief. Even we're a couple games in the season and they're undefeated. So that was good. The only thing I'm concerned about is, I'll say it again, is Tyrion systems, because the first game of the season, they looked heavily outplayed by Toronto of all teams. And I know Toronto's supposed to be looking like the better team a lot of these nights, but it's inexcusable when you're getting outplayed by a team that's supposed to be bottom five in the league and you're supposed to be contending for a cup. So I know that they'll win a bunch of games. Like Carey Price will definitely win the games, and the look of their defense will win them a bunch of games. So I'm sure somewhere I'm sure somewhere soon they'll realize what their team is, and they will win. They will win. They'll look better. Maybe they're just adjusting to systems or whatever. I'm not sure what it is. But Tyrion's already changed a bit, because this season I don't think Darren has played with Pacioretty at all, or if he has, it's been very limited. So that's good, because I prefer when guys like Plekanec play with him. I wish Galchenyuk would get a chance with Pacioretty, but that's not a huge deal. Um, Guys like Weiss are playing on the fourth line. They picked up Paul Byron on waivers. Even guys like Darnay is playing on the third line wing, which is great. So I'm not sure if Bergevin and Tyrion had a talk and like, okay, these are the guys that we need to get playing more, like Galchenyuk, Eller. But whatever he did, it seems to be the team seems to look better on paper, and everyone seems to be playing in their proper positions. The only thing I am concerned about is Andrei Markov playing top 2 minutes again. I feel like by playoff time, he's gonna be even worn. He's gonna be worn out like he was last season, because last season he just did not look very good in the playoffs, and I feel like it's because he's slowing down now. Like, he's 36, and he shouldn't be playing top 2 minutes. I'm sure he can handle top 4 minutes very easily, but I just feel like he shouldn't be playing top 2 minutes. And I love Andre, so I feel like he can do a lot of great things. Just keep him off that top pairing, no matter how good he is. Just let someone like Petrie or let someone like Beaulieu step into that top. Even though Beaulieu really shouldn't be in the top pairing, I feel like he'd do just fine. You wouldn't really notice it too much. And knowing Tyrion, he'd probably just take him off the next game anyways. So yeah, overall, I think this team's gonna look good. And if I had to place a prediction on where they'd finish, I'd say second in the East, only because I'm really high on Tampa. But it wouldn't surprise me if Montreal won the East at all. Anything Montreal doesn't surprise me. They find ways to win.
All right, and let's see. You do believe Montreal to finish second in the East, which translates to you believing them to make the playoffs again.
For sure. If
This
Montreal
season.
didn't make the playoffs, it'd be really concerning.
Mm-hmm. But talk about when you see Montreal really rising to the occasion in the East and really contending, starting to become more perennial contenders for the Stanley Cup.
I feel like Montreal could be a contender once they add another high-scoring top six winner. That's the only thing they're actively missing from this team. They just need somebody else to play on Patrick's wing, and they need that dangerous scoring. Because you look at a lot of these cup-winning teams, like the Hawks have, guys like Kane, and they have Hossa, and they had scoring throughout their lineup. They had the really top guy, and really Pacioretty. Like, Montreal's a low-scoring team. Like, Patrick only got 67 points last season. So I feel like what they need is a better, not a better, but just another top six winger, and maybe to round out the defense a bit more, maybe pick up another guaranteed top four player, one not named Alexei Emelin, and one not as overpaid as Emelin. Those are the only two things I feel. Because Montreal's really close. Like, if they didn't get utterly destroyed by Tampa last season, I feel like they could have made the Cup Finals. They could have taken on the Rangers just fine, but they didn't. So I think Montreal isn't that far away, but they better do it soon. Even though their team, the core of their team is pretty young. Like Pacioret's 26, Subban's 26, Price is 28, and they want Galchenyuk to be a core piece. So I'll count him. He's 21. So I feel like they should do it before Markov retires, though. So Markov has 2 years left on his deal. So I feel like whatever they feel like they need to do, they better do it quick.
All right. Oh boy, Isaac, we got a runner on third and Bautista up to bat. How about that?
Oh, he popped out.
Oh, he did? Wow, your stream is ahead of me, and I'm just watching on Fox Sports 1 here.
I'm watching this on Sportsnet, which is using Fox Sports 1 speed.
Wow. All right, well, yeah, there's that. Well, oh well. Blue Jays up 1-0 heading into the bottom of the third. But, yes, that... Unless Dave has anything else, that concludes the Canadiens portion.
I do not have anything.
Alrighty. Isaac, Emma, you're both welcome to stick around and be a part of our panel here as we now go into some quick hits, go into last night's games, to tonight's games, and our predictions on that. So stick around if you like, and Dave will get us started here.
Okay, so we're gonna look back on how our pick'ems went last week, Blake. So last week, I ended up winning like usual. I'm up now 11-9 between the two of us.
Nice banter there.
Yes, yes. You know I'm good with the banter. It's kind of my thing.
Yes.
Anyway, so I guess just looking at yesterday's, we'll look at yesterday's games first. Let me get to them. So yesterday we had 7 games. The first game being San Jose versus New Jersey, with San Jose winning 2-1 in the shootout. Let me get this.
There's a joke somewhere in there about New Jersey not winning the shootout.
New Jersey never wins the shootout. It's kind of accepted at this point. Brent Burns getting the first star of the game. But the scoring summary goes as follows. Patrick Marleau, he scored in the first period about 2:01 in. Assists go to Joel Ward and Thomas Hertel. Then in the third period at 16:22, on the power play, Adam Henrique scores to tie it up with the assist to Damon Severson and Jordan Tutu. Then going into the shootout, Adam Henrique converted for the Devils, but Joe Pavelski, the new captain of the San Jose, and Brent Burns both scored to win it for San Jose.
San Jose is continuing their... San Jose has had this trend, actually, for the past couple seasons of some early season success. It'll be interesting now with this whole new dynamic going on with the team, with DeBoer now. It'll be interesting to see where that continues. And certainly this season now there's more of a focus on the hot start the Sharks are having.
This season's been weird for like the standings in general. I mean, what is it? Anaheim has only scored 1 goal so far this season.
I think 1 goal on even strength.
Is it even strength or just total? Because I'm not really sure. But I mean, they've only scored 1 goal. Their goals for is at 1, and their goals against is at 11. Like this season's weird. I mean, you have Pittsburgh only having 1 game won, Columbus not losing 5 games in a row. You know, these two teams everyone thought was going to be great, Anaheim being at the bottom of their division, San Jose actually playing well. I'm very confused by this season in the NHL. What are your guys'
The
thoughts on?
Pacific Division, especially, is in a rather intriguing. Let's take a look at the Pacific right now. The San Jose Sharks are your Pacific Division leaders after playing 4 games there. They have 8 points, followed by Vancouver with 7, who lost last night, and we'll get more into that. Arizona is now 3-1. They have 6 points, but then there's a drop-off going on. After Arizona with 6 points, Calgary and Los Angeles are tied with 2. They are both 1-3, and winless Anaheim and Edmonton. Though Anaheim did make it to an overtime game, so they have the 1 point to Edmonton's 0.
Mm-hmm. Was Anaheim a shootout? Because I see SO at 0-1, so they at least went to a shootout.
Mm-hmm.
But like, there's 4 teams right now that are undefeated. I kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on which of those 4: New Jersey, Columbus, Anaheim, and Edmonton. Which of the 4 is going to be the last one to win a game?
Was it New Jersey, Columbus?
Oh, the last one to win a game. That's. And I thought you were going to ask us which one's going to lose first.
Well, they've already lost.
Oh wait,
So.
undefeated.
No, these are purely defeated teams. They haven't won a game yet.
Oh yes, okay. Oh yeah, the only 2 undefeated teams right now are San Jose and Montreal. How about that? Which one of those 2 are going to lose a game first?
Montreal plays Detroit tonight, and I could see that going horribly wrong.
San Jose for me. They're going to lose.
And San Jose
Whoa.
plays the Islanders, so take that for what you will.
Yeah, I'm going with San Jose.
Whoa.
What do you think, Emma? Who do you think is going to...
Yeah, I kind of think San Jose. I mean, there's just Carey Price. I just can't. I think he's gonna hold out longer. And San Jose, I think, has lost Couture now. Yes.
Yeah, they have.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna agree with you, Dave. I think San Jose.
Leaning towards San Jose, they play the Islanders tonight in Brooklyn. So
I have a bad feeling though that Montreal's gonna lose. I do not have a good feeling.
All right. So then how about my question? Which of New Jersey,
Yes.
Columbus, Anaheim, or Edmonton, which one's going to be the last one to win a game?
the last one to win a game.
Yes.
The Oilers fan of me
Of course.
has another feeling, saying that the Oilers are just going to keep losing and losing and losing. It's awful. Just be good already.
You know, Edmonton's problem is being in a stacked Western Conference.
But the thing is, the Pacific Division is considered the worst of the 4
Well,
divisions.
yeah, the Pacific Division. I think the other 3 divisions improved, while the Pacific actually took a step back. That's how I view the Pacific.
We
I
have-
don't know. This is a hard one.
I honestly, I'm going to go with Columbus is going to be the last one. Bob has not been, good. He has already come out and says he has 0 confidence in himself. And that does not make for a good team. And then plus, with the, defense they have not really being good, the only thing they changed from last year is Ryan Murphy coming back, being healthy. It doesn't sound like a good kind of situation for them. What are your thoughts?
No, I'm still going with Edmonton, especially taking a look at their upcoming schedule. If anybody else has any thoughts on anything, I'll look up their schedule.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I agree with you, Blake, because I mean they're playing. Well, they played Calgary and Vancouver, but then after that, and that's a back-to-back. But then after that, they played Detroit, and they play the Capitals. Yeah. I don't know. I think probably Edmonton.
Los Angeles, Minnesota, Montreal, and Calgary to finish out the month of October. So it's not going to be easy for Edmonton.
Yeah.
Don't worry, McDavid's there.
Yes.
I was the only
McDavid.
thing
Everyone thought he was going to be so good.
had to type for McDavid as the next guy, but this team still had a whole bunch of problems that trading for Griffin Reinhart, who some Islanders fans were saying isn't really an NHL defenseman, like he could have benefited with one more year in the minors, and trading for Cam Talbot wasn't going to fix. I mean, Nielsen looks good though, so that's good, but overall, this team still had a bunch of holes, and Chiarelli did not do much to fix that.
For Edmonton, how long do you think it will be until they decide to just try again and blow up the team? Because you've
I
got
really
how many
hope-
first-round picks?
I
First
hope they
overall
don't.
picks?
After all this, like, you can't really blow up a team that has Taylor Hall. Like, when people say, are Edmonton going to blow it up, like, what are they going to do? Finish in the bottom again? They're already doing that.
Let's just trade away everybody and try to get as many picks as possible, I guess.
Now, they're trading a guy like Taylor Hall. You're hoping to get another guy just as good as Taylor Hall, if not better.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really help them to do that. I just feel like they need to be a bit risky, but in the good risky but safe at the same time. They need to get like established NHLers, a good one. You know, trading for guys like Greiba, Cam Talbot. Nielsen was risky. It seems like it's paying off, but if it didn't, that'd be in the same category. Like Edmonton's just been picking up scraps, hoping to turn them into serviceable players. Like when they picked up Scrivens from the Kings, he's a backup goalie and probably always will be, but they want to turn him into a starter. Same with Fost, and they like even when they moved Marinson to Toronto, that was probably one of their better defensemen, and they moved him for a fourth-round pick who was traded for Greiba, and a player that signed in Germany in Brad Ross. So Edmonton just needs to start making smart decisions if they don't want to be at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I find it interesting how people view Edmonton in relation to how people would view any other team in any other sport who would be experiencing the same situation. Because, most of the time what happens is you see a team who did not do well one season and they decide to make some personnel changes with getting a new head coach, with getting a new general manager, as is what Edmonton did in this past off season, and they start to not do well the next season. Most of the time, the reaction would be, well, it's going to take them a while to get used to all the new stuff, but the changes were still what they needed to do, and it'll help them out eventually. But you don't see much of that with Edmonton.
I think that's just the fans getting tired of it, because, I mean, I say that, but even in a city like Toronto, when they have Babcock now, they just won their first game yesterday, and people are saying, yeah, they're supposed to be bad, they made all the changes they need to, save the Kessler trade, I don't think they need to do that, but the process there, so you can kind of compare the two situations, but Edmonton has been bottom of the league for so long, that starts to wear out, whereas Toronto, although they've been bad, at least have a playoff series in the past couple years. And
they've had hope, basically.
Yeah, they've had hope. Mm-hmm. And they kind of enter, and the city of Toronto wants to rebuild, whereas Edmonton doesn't. Edmonton wants to be good now, whereas Toronto wants to be bad.
They're out of the rebuild.
Yeah.
What you're getting at, yeah. With Edmonton also, they bring in a new coach, but we've had how many new coaches in the past year? They have, a new coach every season at this point?
Yeah, but how many of those coaches were established? Like, who'd you have there? You had Tom Rennie for a while. You had whoever they had at the end of last season. His name escapes me, but he's with... No, I forget where he's with now.
Wasn't it just, a mixture of their GM and a bunch of other people? Was their coach?
Yeah, but there was one that Oilers fans really liked, and his name is escaping me right now.
I have no idea.
Was it the coach that came from Oklahoma City?
Todd Nelson, that was his name. Todd
Yeah.
Nelson. They had yeah, the Oilers fans really liked him, and they were hoping that he was going to stay with them. But then they got McClellan, and they didn't really care. I'm not sure what he's up to now.
I mean, McClellan's
But
considered a Babcock light at this point, so I guess that's kind of why they're going to probably keep him for a bit. Because
yeah,
he trained under Babcock, was with them during the 2008 Stanley Cup Championship. So, yeah, that's... Edmonton's kind of at a weird state where everyone kind of hopes they're going to be better, but it's just kind of sad to see what they're doing now.
it's awful. It's horrible to see.
Mhm.
So,
Let's see. Continuing along here, I mentioned
the game breakdowns.
Anaheim blanked out again. This time at the hands of the lowly Colorado Avalanche in a game in which Anaheim outshot the Avalanche 35-25. They leave the game with a 3-0 defeat. Colorado scoring one goal in each period. Nathan McKinnon in the first, his second. Jack Skilly, a off-season acquisition for Colorado, scoring his first as a member of the Avalanche. Nick Holden and Grigorenko with assists on that one, and the empty netter scored by John Mitchell, who he already has 4 goals on the season. Assist by Soderberg and Como. Reto Berra, the first star of the game, with a 35-save shutout. I have to say, though, this game says more about Anaheim than it does Colorado, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna say that Colorado's not that good. Red Bear's not gonna be throwing out shutouts.
Yeah. Anaheim, they're gonna have to start kicking it up soon. They were the team that everyone's considered to be, Stanley Cup finalist again this year.
Yeah, I have them really high in my ranking.
Yeah, my personal rankings. They were the least Western Conference Finals for me this year.
They upgraded a lot of spots too. Like they traded Edom for Hagelin straight up, and I'd rather take Hagelin than Edom. They added guys like Yuri Seacatch at the end of last season, even smaller guys like Korkov, Santorelli. They added even Chris Stewart. Like they've gotten better since last season. It's strange how they haven't won a game yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The only other win for a Pacific Division team last night, the Los Angeles Kings, played host to Devin Dubnyk in the Minnesota Wild, and Anze Kopitar in overtime, 2:19 in the overtime period, gets the Kings the 2-1 win. Tyler Toffoli on the power play, both goals in regulation scored on the power play. Tyler Toffoli for the Kings, 1:13 into the second, his second of the season. Milan Lucic with the primary assist on that one. Minnesota on the power play, Mikko Koivu with assist by Parise and Suter. 5:37 in the third, ties it up at 1. But Kopitar, assist by Tanner Pearson, 2:19. That gets the Kings the win. And I did say Devin Dubnyk, it was Darcy Kemper getting the start for the Wild last night. He did earn the second star of the game, 37 shots against, 35 saves.
If you asked me who Minnesota's backup this season was, I couldn't tell you because they had so many in the past couple of seasons. I thought Kemper was still buried in the AHL.
I think the only other goaltending they have is what's his name?
Backstrom.
Nicholas Backstrom, yeah. And
Right, yeah, he's on the Wild too, isn't he?
hurt? I'm gonna say.
He's pretty much done, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they've all but given up on him, but I think he's just sitting there and scratched. I think.
Yeah.
He's still on their team. He has is that a no movement clause he has on his contract? He has no movement clause, that's why he's not traded. He's also
Wow.
37, but yeah, this is last year of his contract. He's probably just going to sit up in the press box for Darcy Kemper and Devin Dubnyk.
What a revolving door of goalies Minnesota had for a couple years. They had Backstrom, transitioned that to Harding and Kemper for a while. Realized that really wasn't working. Picked up Galov.
Well, it's not like they realized that wasn't working. Harding kind of had, a medical issue.
Well, I mean, other than that, I mean, like when he was healthy, I was talking more about Backstrom than Harding.
Yeah.
Because Harding was great. Harding was great. Harding looked like a legitimate starter for the longest time there, or by
Yeah.
longest time, I mean, for about a season. But he looked really good. But then Backstrom really wasn't performing. And yeah, like you said, Harding's medical stuff, but the MS. That didn't really help Minnesota out too much. And even last season, when he like kicked a wall or whatever it was, and he broke his foot,
Yeah.
that doesn't help.
And he's gone now. I think they didn't re-sign him, I guess, so he's retired.
Yeah.
Then they have, Darcy Kemper, who, from what I understand from Minnesota fans, is very up and down with his play. So they don't really trust him at this point.
It's definitely all about Dubnyk, and
And I cannot wait till he is bad again, because he isn't that great.
I don't think he's not going to be as good as he was.
I think I was just more
season.
sick of the circle jerk they had for him last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely regressing. I think he already has, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
But the Wild, again, I've said this a couple times, the Wild, they don't need an amazing goaltender. They just need, at best an average goaltender, a not terrible goaltender. It's all about the defense, really. The amazing defense that the Minnesota Wild has. If they can put an able-bodied goaltender there, they'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. They do have a very good defense, so.
Mm-hmm. Rounding out the Western Conference, well, two more games. The Winnipeg Jets continue their hot start. They defeat the Calgary Flames, score of 3-1. Michael Backlund for Calgary opened up the scoring, 3:38, assist by Sam Bennett and former Jet Michael Frolik. However, Winnipeg would score the next three. Brian Little in the second, his third of the season. Dustin Byfuglien, his second of the season, 18:32 in the third, broke the deadlock there. And Blake Wheeler, his third with the empty netter, 19:07 into the third, gets the win for Winnipeg. Byfuglien, the first star of the game, 1 goal on 3 shots. Kari Ramo for Calgary, 30 shots against, so 27 saves, .931 save percentage in that game.
So you guys think Calgary's finally regressing, or
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're regressing.
I think it's weird to say that too, because at the time of trading for Dougie Hamilton, or getting Dougie Hamilton from the trade, you saw that as an improvement. But now, even with Hamilton, to say that they are regressing, that's a little off. But
Just because you pick up a good player doesn't mean the good player is going to turn your team around.
See, Maple Leafs, Toronto.
See, Edmonton.
Well, no, not turn Calgary around, but at the least maintain the some of the performance from last season. At the least, make Calgary a playoff team again this season.
I mean, they can still be a playoff team with that Pacific Division. There's nothing really stopping them, because that division is a very weak division, though it doesn't look like it right now. Everyone kind of knows Arizona is overachieving at this present moment.
See, I'd be okay with Arizona completely overachieving. Like, I didn't like the Flames because of that last season, but I'd be completely fine with Arizona doing it this season.
Arizona is just kind of nice to see them get nice things. After everything they've been through, I want them to have nice things at this point.
I just want the Leafs to be more in for Matthews, so it's alright. One less bad team.
I mean, you're gonna get first, second, or third most likely with how everything works out.
Well, I actually don't think I think we'll actually finish like not bottom five. Well, maybe we'll see, but I don't think we'll. I think we'll finish not bottom five.
All right. Yeah. But Calgary, they're regressing, yeah. But they're gonna pick it up a little bit. I think they're regressing a little too much right now, a little more than everyone kind of expected. So they're probably gonna pick up a little bit and finish about fourth in their division.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if it's fourth wild card, but they're gonna at least be fourth in that division.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a full a Central Division sweep of the wild card.
Yeah, that's the thing with Central Division. It's really hard to give a wild card spot to Pacific Division.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And speaking of the Central, a victory for the St. Louis Blues of the Central Division. They defeat the Vancouver Canucks 4-3. How about this, folks? They defeat Vancouver for the first time since November of 2011.
Really? It's been that long?
Yes, Vancouver has had our number. Just everyone think of how your teams looked in 2011.
We had a good team that was going for the Pacific for the President's Trophy. Things have changed.
There was that. Yeah.
Things have definitely changed.
And there you go. Your Flyers were contending for the President's Trophy, and it was during that time that the Blues last defeated Vancouver. Just picturing all that has changed from that time. It's a little intriguing.
Yeah.
You know what I think it was?
What was that?
I think it was Hitchcock finally losing that blue sweater.
For the hockey one?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Hockey sweater. That was probably when they finally won.
It was a 4-3 win. St. Louis jumps out to a 3-0 lead towards the midway point of the second period. Yori Laterra.
Exactly the midway.
Yeah, pretty much. Yori Laterra in the first, 7:36, his second of the season. And then 2 goals in the second by Alexander Steen for his third. Robert Bortuzzo, his first goal of the season, assist by Tarasenko and Steen. That was at 10:01 of the second, so just off by a second for the midway point. That was soon answered about 2.5 minutes later, though, by Brandon Sutter, shorthanded, his second of the season, assist by Luca Spiza.
Wow, that is a Canucks fan's worst nightmare.
Yes.
Both of them on the ice together.
Yes.
Hey, they did something good though.
Kyle Brodziak, his first as a Blue, 16-14 in the third, and all of a sudden it is 4-1 St. Louis. But what turned out to be a mere insurance maker turned out to be the difference maker, as Jared McCann scores 16:44 30 seconds later, his second of the season, assist by Burrows and Sutter. And Daniel Sedin at 19:31 in the third, while the net was empty, his second of the season, ends up being 4-3 Vancouver. Speaking of Burrows, if you have not seen it, check out the GIF of Burrows jumping into the Blues bench.
Yeah, what was that?
Was he just trying to not get a too many men penalty, I guess?
I think that's what that was, but what intrigues me more was his kind of squirming around there. I don't know what he was doing there. I get the initial jumping into the bench, but
I have it up right now. I'm gonna watch this. Yeah, he
And
just kind of hopped in.
and the funniest thing is Jay Bouwmeester just staring at him with the blankest of faces.
like, what? He's just kind of staring at him as he's rattling around on top of him.
Get that GIF on Twitter if you can, Dave. Everybody needs to see that one. Vancouver as well. While we're speaking of regressing teams, Vancouver regressing as well.
They're going. Well, everyone kind of expected Vancouver to be bad this year, but they're going to. But they've actually started off really well, but they're going to regress. I mean, their goaltending isn't as solid as it was a year or even 2 years ago. And they traded away some depth for Sutter, which isn't great. They traded away a lot of their big name players. I think the only ones they have left are the Sedin twins, right? And who else is there? Vibrata. That's all they have left, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
They're overachieving so much right now. I believe they're going to
top four defenseman Lucas Visa. All right, that's all they need.
The Flyers drafted him, and you know he was going to be bad when they traded him away. The Flyers gave up on him.
Wow.
Then again, it was for Pronger, but still. They're going to regress. I don't see them as even a wild card team. I mean, Anaheim's probably going to take their spot, and I can probably see Los Angeles taking Arizona's spot. So
the Oilers will be right behind them.
They had to win a game first to be behind them.
Ooh.
Yikes.
And 2 more games to go. 2 more in the Eastern Conference now from last night. How about, lady and gentlemen, the Carolina Hurricanes on the road in Detroit, getting a 5-3 win over the Red Wings.
Detroit doesn't experience Canes hockey.
Yes. How about the Carolina Hurricanes jumping out to a 3-0 lead 55 seconds into the first? Brock McGinn.
They didn't score 3 goals in the first 55 seconds, don't worry.
Yeah, that was phrased weird.
Oh,
Yeah,
no.
You phrased it very weirdly.
Oh.
They took them to the second period to score 3 goals.
Yeah, but...
Anyway, continue on.
Yes. Brock McGinn, 55 seconds into the game, an assist by Chris Versteeg, Emma.
Yay.
Yay!
Former Blackhawks great Chris Versteeg.
Yeah, former rapping hopeful.
Former Flyers great Chris Versteeg, too.
Former Panthers great Chris Versteeg.
He was on their first
legit former Panthers great. Everybody loved him in Florida, though.
I still can go that the Flyers actually traded a first and I think a third for Versteeg.
That was in 2011. He was our Paul Holmgren stupid pickup of the year. But yeah, he was taking the place of Nikolai Zherdev. Okay, that was his point. Because the Nikolai Zherdev experiment did not work out.
Actually, Emma, Versteeg had a monster night last night. Earned him the 3rd star of the game. 1 goal, 2 assists in that game. His other assist, a secondary assist, coming in the second period on a power play goal by Justin Falk. Eric Stahl with the primary assist, who then scored about 3 minutes later. Assist by Hainsey and McGinn. And then Detroit rattles off a quick back-to-back goals there in about a minute. Gustav Nyquist with his second. Riley Sheehan rounds out the scoring in the second period. 4 goals in that period. But back-to-back by the Hurricanes, 6:25 in the third. That was Versteeg's goal, assist by Skinner and Eric Stahl. Chris Terry with his first of the season, assist by Malone and McClement. Timu Polkinen, his third of the season, and an assist by Dylan Larkin. And that's where the scoring would end up, 5-3, Carolina over Detroit.
The thing with Carolina is they're a lot better of a team than they actually play as.
Oh yeah.
Like, I mean, looking at them last year, they actually had a very, obviously not a playoff team last year.
They
They
weren't
weren't
that
as
bad.
bad as kind of what their standings were. It's kind of how I felt about them. Either any of you three agree with that at all, or I could just be wrong.
Yeah, no, I could see what you're saying with that totally. Like they had moments too where it was kind of like, oh, wait a second.
Like you can tell what they're trying to do, they just can't.
Right, right. I would also point out that this is a Chris Versteeg contract year trademark. So he's gonna look pretty good probably until it gets to the point where he can't sustain it anymore, or maybe he doesn't see him getting a new I don't know, but his contract is up this year, so
He's gonna be going back to you guys, right? That's how it works. He leaves and comes back.
no, he is not. He is not our Dan Cleary. Thank you.
No, but see,
not
Dan
your
Cleary
Ryan
was traded
Boucher.
away.
Yeah.
If general manager, if general manager Ron Francis can work some more magic, and there's still the possibility of him working some more magic and flipping Versteeg for another solid piece. But it's good to see him contribute early.
Mm-hmm.
But and going off of Dave's question there, that's where it all starts too. The Canes made a huge upgrade in general managing, going from Jim Rutherford to Ron Francis. Huge upgrade there too, and I think it showed especially last season, such as it turns out. Essentially winning the trades that sent Sekera over to the Los Angeles Kings,
Mm-hmm.
and trading for Eddie Lack.
That's a huge upgrade net for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
I mean, Cam Ford, he was good. He's just injured a lot now, and he can't really do as much as he used to be.
I mean, I hear Paul talking about this too, and I'll kind of base this as what I've seen him saying. The Canes really should have just essentially given up on Cam Ward a couple seasons ago, because
Yeah, he had
couple
a
seasons ago,
6-year
that's kind of when he started on a decline there. Yeah.
2010 contract where he had a 6-year one.
Yeah.
They probably should have given up on him then, or at least signed him for, not $6.3 million a year.
Nice.
Yeah.
Or at least not for, 6 years. Do it maybe for 3 years so you can kind of get ready with the next goaltender of the future, which they kind of have now in Eddie Lack, who is 27, entering his prime as a goaltender, which kind of starts, I guess, around 28 for goaltending and then ends around 33-ish. So he's kind of helped them out a lot. They already had some horrible luck, though, with, James Winooski getting injured, 50 seconds into the season?
47
like
seconds into
47 seconds?
Yes.
That's what it was?
Yes.
Like, come on, that is bad luck for them right there.
And the thing that is so far driving me crazy as well is we talk about Ward. Already he's played 2 more games than Eddie Lack. And Eddie Lack, 0-1 so far, 3.10 goals against average, 8.97 save percentage.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at Cam Ward's stats through 3 games. 1 and 2, 3.07 goals against average, 0.859 save percentage.
Mm-hmm. Eddie Lack, he's used to a better team in front of him, I guess.
Now, I mean, they get this most hyped about trade in the draft here, and we've only seen him for 1 game so far.
Yeah, but
I would have thought that, based on the offseason, I would have thought this would have been the season that Carolina would maybe start to show signs of competing more.
They're on their way to it. I
Yeah,
think the thing with Carolina though is Skinner has not shown what they thought he was showing during his rookie year.
Concussions do that to
He
you.
was so good during his rookie year, but then with all the concussions he's had, they were betting on him to be their next great Eric Stahl, but he just got hurt too much, and they're kind of still trying to deal with that situation. I think with them.
yeah. And on the other side of this game here, the Detroit Red Wings, folks. Your thoughts on the Red Wings so far?
Dylan Larkin is good.
Yeah.
Good. I have even
The hot
seen
take.
some, and I mentioned this in a previous episode. I've even seen or in last week's episode actually, I even saw a fairly well-respected NHL journalist already, boom, bill him the best first-round draft pick since Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, I
Well, for
saw that. We all
Detroit,
were kind of iffy with that.
Yeah,
well, I mean, how
It's a
many
little
notable
early.
first-round picks has Detroit had
yeah.
in a while?
That is true. But
Like, I can't
But
think of any off the top of my head where I've gone, yeah, this guy, first-round pick.
but
well,
but
because they're
still,
most known for their later rounds.
but
Go ahead.
still, that tells me the hype and the excitement is certainly there for Larkin, and they expect a lot out of Larkin. And so far, those expectations seem to have been met.
hmm With Detroit, though, they're doing about as well as you thought they were doing. They were going to be about second or third in their division. I thought I was personally putting them as third, behind Montreal and Tampa. Tampa,
I still
obviously,
think
everyone
they
thought was
will
going
be.
to run
I
away.
don't think that they can keep up the offense for too long, but
Who was that? Uh, what team do you think is not going to keep up their offense? I didn't hear it.
oh, Detroit. I still think that I'd still put them third best in the division.
Definitely.
Hmm.
I mean, Tampa, they're obviously going to take over their division. They are the best team in the Atlantic, minus the Rangers. I mean, in the Eastern, minus the Rangers. So they are probably gonna take up shop under for at least first. Montreal probably gonna be nipping out their bits right behind them, though. With
And
Detroit getting in
lastly,
about third. Go ahead.
rounding out last night's games here, uh, this is a game that's going to have a lot of storyline, and we'll certainly be discussing this one once I give the recap here, especially from Isaac. Intrigued in hearing what Isaac has to say. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they head into the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, and they leave with a 6-3 win over the struggling Columbus Blue Jackets. It was Columbus who opened up the scoring in the first period. Boone Jenner, 3:47 into the first, his third of the season, assist by Atkinson and Dubinsky.
Mm-hmm.
Then the second period, you see 4 goals in the second period, 3 by the Maple Leafs. Jake Gardner, his first of the season. That was just 29 seconds into the second. 7:34 into the second. James Van Riemsdyk, his second assist by Bozak and Morgan Riley. Nazem Kadri, his first of the season. 8:52 into the second. Assist by newcomer Sean Matthias on that one as well. Also, Brad Boys, newcomers with assists on that one. Columbus made it a 2-goal game again, though, and the captain, Nick Foligno, 18:02 into the second, assist by Scott Hartnell, Dave,
Yes,
and
yes.
Cody Golubev, and it is 4-2 Toronto heading into the third. Much of the same in the third. 4 more goals scored in the third, 3 of them by Toronto. 59 seconds into the third, Dave, again, Scott Hartnell with the power play goal, assist by Ryan Johansson and Brandon Saad. 4 minutes into the third, though, that's when the 3 straight by Toronto starts. Joffrey Lupul, his second of the season, assist by Phaneuf and Winnick. Leo Komarov, back-to-back scoring his first and second of the season, the second at 19 minutes on the empty netter. 6-3 Toronto. And we'll begin with Isaac. I would assume he may have paid attention to that game.
I was half watching, as more watching the Jays, but I know enough of what happened. Interesting enough, I went to the Leafs website to look at the box score, and the Leafs official website still has the game at 1-0 Columbus at the end of the first. So, there are things going on there. But yeah, it was a standard Toronto game this season. They got scored on first off a goal that maybe shouldn't have gone in, but Boone Jenner had a great tip in front of the net. The puck was only like 6 feet wide, but Jenner somehow put it between Reimer's legs, and they went up 1-0. Toronto looked like such a better team in the first and second. Like, I forget what the shots were. Oh, that's okay. Shots by here. So Toronto outshot Columbus like 11-6 in the first, but Columbus' 6 shots mainly came near the end. Toronto was completely dominating them. And then the Jake Gardner goal was kind of floppy, just kind of long one at the net and beat Bobrovsky, I think, glove side through a bunch of traffic. But I think we're missing the biggest story here, and that's David Clarkson's first game against Toronto and of the season.
Yeah. David Clarkson, he's back.
Davy Clarkman, gently.
He's more truculent than ever.
He quietly came in, I guess, had a solid game.
He and Phaneuf had a fight in quotations.
Yeah, kind of looks. It didn't have a fight. It has roughing as their thing.
Yeah. I think they called it a fight on the broadcast. I didn't check the box score, but yeah, they had. I think they
cross-checked Clarkson. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was some cross-check in front of the net, and then they said something, and then Clarkson's glove came off, and then they essentially hugged each other until Phaneuf could get his gloves off, and then Clarkson just kind of pulled Phaneuf to the ice, and then that was it. That was the most notable thing that Clarkson did. Other than that, I did not notice him whatsoever.
Yeah.
He actually had the least amount of ice time of the Jackets yesterday.
I mean, it's kind of expected that him have a low ice time. It's his first game back, so.
Yeah. And plus, it's David Clarkson. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Come on, you guys signed him to how much money? He's amazing.
I mean, it was all that grit. And that's why, to this day, I still believe that making the playoffs that year was one of the worst things that could have happened to the Leafs.
Because I thought that they could just need an extra player or two to do it again.
They thought they were a much better team than they actually were. And they went, oh, we can't get bullied like that anymore. Let's go sign David Clarkson for too much money. And let's pick up Dave Bolin because he knows how to be a winner. And they almost signed him to an outrageous contract if it wasn't for Florida. There's so much wrong with Notice as Leafs GM.
Yeah. All right.
All right, folks. Definitely a lot to discuss from this game. And, oh boy, I just want to dive into this. Let's discuss Maple Leafs. Let's discuss Blue Jackets. We'll begin with the Maple Leafs scoring 6 goals in the victory. Everyone's thoughts on the Maple Leafs?
I think they're the greatest team ever.
There you
go. They are going to regress.
We will end with Isaac's hot take. Good night, everybody.
I'm not clicking the button. You're not making us leave. We will not end on that, Blake. I refuse.
How can they regress more than they already have? They're already.
They are near the right underneath the. They're close to the wild card. They are not near number 10. They're on number 4 in the listing.
They got sample size. They've looked great though all season. They just
the Babcock effect.
Score.
Yeah, but they are probably going to fall down dramatically towards the bottom. Columbus is going to pick it up a bit. New Jersey is probably going to tie them. Boston's
I
going to
don't
do
think
Boston
Columbus. I think
things.
Columbus will kind of pick it up, but at the same time, when you look at the amount of money they have and the players they have it in, like
Mhm.
they're still paying Cardinals contract. They have Clarkson, Jack Johnson's making too much money. And even just their defense in general, Columbus is not a very good team.
Yeah, I know. And everyone yelled at me for saying any different.
Well,
I was yelled at.
I mean,
my
I think I
fans,
still have them in the playoffs, but I'm not sure. I think I might have them just out.
I mean, I thought they were going to do better than they are now.
Oh,
But
they should be. There's no way to excuse
I did
anything
not
like
see
lost.
them as a wild card team, though. I figure they do about as good as last year.
I thought they'd do a bit better, but not Bobrovsky's playing like this.
And
yeah,
I personally thought they put too much money in Nick Foligno, too.
Oh, jeez, yes. But Columbus fans will not tell you that.
Yep.
They just ignore every year before last.
yes.
I mean, Scott Hartnell for the next 4 years, he's not going to be worth that money, which is why the Flyers did trade him away for
But you
only
got
2 years, got RJ Umber. What?
You have that all-star number.
He was actually doing decently before he got hurt.
Hmm. Yeah.
He had 2 assists against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And they were beautiful, beautiful assists. He was obnoxiously hurt, though, during all last season. Like, barely able to walk, obnoxiously hurt. Was apparently what happened. And instead of deciding he will be, a detriment to the team and sit out, he decided to play through it because he thought he would be bought out at the end of the season if he sat out. That was kind of his thought process, apparently. But yeah, Columbus is going to pick it up a bit. But Bob has not been doing as well as everyone kind of thought he would be.
It's not even as well as he thought. He's not been good, period.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob's
Expectations
a
out of the window,
good
that's not
goaltender.
NFL caliber.
Someone that watched him for like a season and a half, but like he's a good goaltender. I just don't know what's with his confidence.
I don't know either.
I don't know what to expect from him now. He is better than he should be. He should be doing a lot better than he is now. I mean, he's only he's 27, so he's entering his prime.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's going on.
And he's not too far off of Vezina winning season, so it's
Yeah.
not like
He won that during the shortened season, right?
yeah, but even still, like I think he would have kept it up.
With Bob, though, his kind of thing was always he usually starts off hot, and then by the end of the season, he like dies out significantly. That's what he at least did when he was with Philly during his rookie season, which kind of explains why he also kind of died out a bit. But yeah, he should be doing better. He shouldn't be letting in a bunch of 5-hole goals.
Mhm.
No.
That's apparently what his problem is. His problem typically was his shoulders, shooting high. 5-hole was usually decent for him.
He had a really weak goal last night in the Toronto game. For a reason, just took a weak wrist shot. Not really weak, they just took a standard wrist shot at him.
Mhm.
Right in between the glove and the pad, and oh, it was bad. It was hard to watch.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, current stats for Bobrovsky: 0-5, 5.07 goals against average, .8 save percentage.
Jeez.
Oh my god. That's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I heard what Richard was saying before the game, or yesterday, or maybe not even before the game, but his decision to keep Borowski in for the Toronto game. He's like, yeah, it's our starter. How is he going to get confidence back if we don't play him? But I think at this point, you just need to sit him out for a game,
Yeah, just let him
to
sit.
kind of get his head straight, and then put him back in, like maybe the game after next. But
You're keeping him doing more harm than good at this point.
yeah,
Mhm.
I understand if it's like one bad game and you just want to get his confidence back, but a string of these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. So since we're closing in on close to 3 hours at this point, do we want to start the pick'ems for today?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first game is Detroit against Montreal. So, what do you guys think about this matchup first?
Mm.
This is going to be a clash of two different styles. I feel like Detroit's going to come out all fast and shooting, and Montreal's going to do their standard play defense, hope Price makes a big save early, and then capitalize on their one chance.
Mhm.
But, don't know. Does everybody know who's playing net for Detroit tonight?
Let me pull that up quickly.
Who played last night? Was it Howard?
Yes.
Alright, then Mrazek.
Mrazek versus Price tonight.
Mm.
So I'm personally going with Montreal on my thing.
Well, earlier I did say that San Jose would be first team to lose their undefeated streak. So, of course, I'll be going with Montreal for this one.
Okay. I suppose to be agreeing with me, Blake.
I'm going Montreal too.
Okay. Emma, you said Detroit, right, Emma?
No, I think Montreal's gonna win this one too.
Okay. So we're all kind of going across the board with Montreal. Okay.
Right.
So Nashville and Ottawa is next.
Mm.
I'm going Nashville. They are my number 2 team. I want them to win. Yeah.
When'd you get a number 2 team, Dave?
I decided at the beginning of the season. I actually last night bought a Roman Josi jersey, so I'm actually official.
Wow.
Is it Nashville because Shea Weber?
No, actually I really did like Nashville overall. I followed Laviolette. That's kind of the thing. I kind of
Yes.
like them. I mean, I hate that I'm rooting for James Neal now. I really hate that. But I do like Nashville. I always have.
I just don't like Ottawa, so I'm going with Nashville.
Oh yes, and the goalie matchup, folks, appears to be Pecorine versus Craig Anderson.
I thought you were gonna say.
Well, I think
No, it's Carter Hutton. Carter Hutton.
Carter Hutton. I read that wrong. Hutton v. Anderson.
If it's Hutton, that's actually a little bit iffy.
Yes.
But it's Craig Anderson, so that's iffy still.
Yes. Very much so. Oh boy.
I'm still giving the edge to Nashville. I don't trust Ottawa. I don't feel like they're that good.
Didn't they see Hammond last year? This guy's like a Vezina winner.
My gripe with Hammond is very well known.
Yes.
It is a very well known, and I feel like everyone knows I dislike everything about him.
So do I.
Back to
Oh,
Ottawa.
you never heard that? You never heard my rant on him?
I can't say I have.
It is basically the way to boil it down to it. I watched him get scored on 3 times in 21 seconds.
Never mind. I've seen you tweet this so many times.
Yes. 21 seconds. Like, yeah, that's kind of my big thing with him. I can't trust him at all. Anyway, Blake, what is your team pick? What are you picking?
Oh boy. Well, I suppose I would have to go with Nashville. Starting Hutton is it can go either way with Hutton in net, but yeah, the main X factor here, Nashville's defense, of course.
Yeah. So you're going Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Buffalo and Tampa Bay.
Buffalo, we're going bold.
This is your upset pick of the week.
No, just kidding. No.
Oh, no, I already have it written down, Blake. You're forced into it now.
Wow, how dare
No,
you?
go ahead. You're on Tampa?
Yes. I am, of course, going Tampa. They're my lock to go all the way. I predicted them as the Stanley Cup champions right before the season started.
Okay. Just let you two know, we kind of do a upset pick of the week also if you wanted to think about that for the teams we're picking. So I'm also picking Tampa for this. I don't even trust the upset pick of the week going to Buffalo.
See, now I'm deciding whether I want my upset pick to be Buffalo or Toronto.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Buffalo in this matchup. I like that.
That you're going your upset pick of the week for this, okay?
Yeah.
I picked Toronto, by the way, Isaac. I picked Toronto as my upset pick last week when they were playing Ottawa. I was close. I was
You
close,
were
though.
close.
I will say that. But
Yeah.
man,
I mean, you technically had 2 upset picks the weeks last week, though it doesn't really look as upsetty as people thought now because Arizona's actually, technically in the playoffs at this moment.
yeah.
But right now, the next, so kind of Tampa Bay, I think all 4 of us said, right?
No, I said Buffalo.
Oh, you said Buffalo, right? Okay. And Emma, what did you say?
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Okay. So next is Dallas and Florida.
Oh, I
Kind of
like the
even.
accent you had there. Florida.
I have random accents. It happens.
Yeah, I'm going Florida. Got a
I'm not
problem with me? You want to go?
Blake. I'm going Dallas on this one.
Yeah, I'm
Dallas
going
is
Dallas.
a really good team.
Dallas is a really good team. Florida, though, they're starting to get there.
Mm-hmm. So what are you picking?
And I will also say Dave knows all too well of their explosive offense this season.
I wasn't watching that game, so I don't know anything.
Yeah, but still,
Yeah. Well,
just
we shut him out the next game, so it doesn't really count.
that is true. Doesn't really count. How dare you? You're being mean to Florida, Dave. How dare you?
I mean to everybody. This is kind of accepted at this point.
But Florida especially, you don't like Sunbelt hockey, Dave. Just admit it.
I like
dare-
Tampa. I like Tampa.
Well,
Hey, I am a fan of Nashville.
oh, well,
Anyway, who are you picking?
yes, give me Dallas.
Okay. Isaac and Emma?
I got Dallas.
Dallas? Emma?
I'm gonna go with Florida.
Oh, changing it up. Okay.
Ooh,
Why are you going against the grain here?
A, just because. B,
You have a feeling? You just have that feeling?
yeah, it sounds like maybe Lettinen is gonna be in net tonight too.
Let me look up who is.
It says the last report I have is that it is
Yeah,
likely.
well, likely, yeah, Lenton.
So,
But against Luongo, and Luongo is still playing out of his mind at this point for some reason.
yeah.
well,
So I don't know. This is a difficult one for me, but I think Panthers.
Yeah, I
Dodgers
mean
are-
this matchup could go either way. It's one of the ones that they're very kind of evenly matched teams at this point. Yeah. Okay, you're going Florida. The rest of us are going to Dallas. All right. So the next game is Toronto against Pittsburgh. And I am pulling my upset pick of the week for Toronto because I refuse to root for Pittsburgh.
I'm doing the same, though not because of blatant bias.
You're just picking the same ones I'm picking just so you don't lose any more than you already are.
Ooh. I haven't seen anything much from this
Yeah.
Pittsburgh bunch so far.
Mhm.
So far, of course, that has impressed me.
Yeah, they have been underachieving massively at this point.
Greatly, yes.
Like I remember I was talking to some Pittsburgh fans, and they were like, "We were promised goals at the beginning of the season. That's what we were promised." And it's just like, yeah, you were promised, but it's not happening. That's what happens when you trade away a bunch of depth for a bunch of good players that you don't know are going to play well together. And that's kind of what we're seeing
To
here.
be fair, Kessel carried Bozak for about 4.5 years.
Mhm.
It was almost a sure thing that he and Crosby were going to play fine together.
But the thing is with Crosby, you have to be a very special type of player to be able to play with him.
Yes.
I mean,
Or
that's
you
the
can be
only you have to be the Chris Kunitz of hockey, basically. Yeah. So, who are you two picking, Emma and Isaac?
I think I'll do a Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go a 4-2 Pittsburgh win, and Bill Kessel gets a hat trick. Of course he
I
will.
like when we provided the score as well. I believe I also provided the score for last week's upset pick, my upset
I
pick.
think you did, yeah. I don't have it here because I already erased it.
I was certainly not correct on the score.
I think you said like 4-1 or something.
4-1?
Yeah.
Come on.
I think that's what you said. I don't know. Emma, who are you picking for this?
Is it technically an upset pick if the Penguins are under the Leafs in the standings?
Wow.
I got to screen cap that one.
Damn! Damn!
Just wondering.
I don't know. Blake, would we consider this an upset pick because of that, actually?
Come on.
Yeah, it's an upset pick.
I don't know. The Penguins have really been sucking, so I'll say Penguins. I just
All right.
my mind can't comprehend
I mean,
that the Penguins could be like bad.
My mind can comprehend it because I want it. I have vivid visions of this day.
but Emma, you know how it goes in hockey. Things can change in an instant. Maybe a motivational win against Toronto, a very emotional, very exciting win against Toronto. It could get them on the right track.
It could give Kessel this superpower, and then he just goes off and blows all the scoring records away in the end.
Yes.
You guys say that. You guys don't know that Tyler Bozak was the secret to Kessel's success.
It was.
First line center, Tyler Bozak.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm going Toronto, as is Blake apparently, and you two said Pittsburgh, so yeah, it's gonna be a weird matchup we have here. And the next game is Carolina and Washington. Two Metro Division rivals going at it, if you can call them rivals. I'm personally going Washington.
Every time Carolina plays the Foghorn, Washington fans just get all in a hissy fit. So
That's funny because Washington's goal horn is super obnoxious.
no, I mean like the Foghorn that plays randomly and the fans chant "Let's go Canes." That one. Everyone's like, "Oh, they stole that from us." Well,
That's in all sports. Like literally.
all sports, and I don't know.
Anyway, who are you picking? Yes. No?
I have Washington because,
Okay.
let's be real, Carolina.
Yeah. They're better than they should be playing. They should be better than they're playing, but they're still Carolina.
Yes, and I mean,
Come on,
yeah,
it's your second team, Blake. It's your second team.
beating Detroit on the road is one thing. But then having to go into Washington. I mean, this is a tough road back to back for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the team right now, I don't know how they can pull it off. Really, I'm gonna have to go with Washington. I don't know how Carolina can pull it off. I didn't know how they could pull off a win against Detroit on the road. They did that, but now.
Chris Versteeg.
And who are you picking, Emma? You going with the Versteeg and going with Carolina?
Nah, I'm gonna go with Washington.
Oh.
Yeah, everyone kind of feels the same way. Carolina isn't Washington level.
I like the way Emma answered it too. And now.
Sorry, Versteeg.
It almost sounded
Come back.
sarcastical, and I appreciated that.
So, yes, the next game is Columbus versus the Islanders. And
San Jose?
San Jose?
Yeah.
Did I write that
San
wrong?
Jose and the Islanders here.
Oh, it is. I wrote
Yeah,
I wrote CJ instead of S. That's kind of why. I have CB. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yes.
San Jose versus the Islanders. It's Stalock versus Halak.
Staylock.
Yeah, I knew if it was Martin Jones playing, I'll probably be able to bump it towards San Jose. But it's
Yes.
Stalock.
Staylock isn't a bad goaltender. though I will say that. But, we haven't seen him at all this season, so that could go either way. And Halak has been doing well in Brooklyn, in Long Island. And I will have to go with the Islanders here.
Yep. And I was going to go with the Islanders, but I wanted to have a different one, so I'm going with San Jose instead.
Wow. The Islanders, they're at home. They're off to another decent start. And they have that offense as well, Yeah. And, again, San Jose, they're without Couture. That is a big loss for them.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going with San Jose. I will make us have at least one different pick this week. Even though it might cause me to lose.
San Jose just to spite me.
I am, yes.
Yeah. I hope the Islanders win then.
Anyway, Emma and Isaac, who are you guys picking?
Speaking of the Islanders, have you guys ever heard the story about how Brian Burke tried to get the Leafs to draft Tavares?
No.
Whoa.
It was so it was the Tavares draft, and the Leafs tried to get the first overall pick to get him, but I think the Islanders wanted Luke Shen in the trade, something like that.
What?
And the Leafs didn't want to give up Shen because Shen. And so Brian Burke spoke to Tavares when they had the pre-draft interviews, and he told them that, like, okay, how about you just say that you're going to retire from hockey, and then in, like, the third round or so, we'll go up to the podium, we'll say that we drafted you, and you can just say that you wanted to, that we convinced you to get another shot, and you'll be a Leaf.
Huh.
Wow.
So Brian Burke essentially tried to get Tavares to retire, drop down in the draft, and then pick him up. Yes. Because of Brian Burke.
I don't feel like that's how it works.
Yeah, well, try and tell him not to Brian Burke.
It is Brian Burke. Okay.
I think the bigger head scratcher was that he didn't want to give up Luke Shen in the deal that would have gave him.
Well, Luke
Yeah.
Shen was considered one of the best, defensive prospects you guys ever
Yeah,
had.
it was. I remember the Padre draft. That's how I remember it. Braden Shen went to LA, but before that draft, Brian Burke was like, Braden Shen is the best prospect in hockey. Whoever gets him is going to be really lucky.
He's a good player for us.
Yeah, I take Braden Shen on my team. It was just funny that Brian Burke will just outright say he's going to be the best prospect in hockey.
Yeah.
But anyway,
But, Luke Shen, the reason that you didn't want to give him up is because he was actually really good for you guys. But he was going to be really good for you guys, but you kind of started him too early.
yeah, he looked fine, and then he kind of just started slowly dropping off.
I mean, depending on if he touches the puck is the big problem. If he doesn't have the puck on his stick, he's fine.
He had that great goal that he went end to end once. That's his major Toronto highlight.
Yeah. Anyway, Emma, who are you picking for this matchup?
I think Islanders.
All right. I'm guessing I'm the only one picking San Jose.
What was Isaac's pick?
The Islanders.
Ah, yes, okay. Oh, there you go, Dave.
Yeah.
You wanted to be different,
But
you're
I will
different.
do it. And next is
Just-
Columbus and Chicago.
Ooh.
I'm going with Columbus.
Let's swing to Emma and have
Go ahead.
Emma give us a preview of this game and what she expects.
Well,
It's Crawford in net, by the way.
yeah, it's Crawford and net. They say Bobrovsky, but unconfirmed. So
Oh, geez,
I don't
they
know.
put Crosby again?
It's unconfirmed. It's not confirmed yet, so.
it's not confirmed. But I mean, it's 5 p.m. I could probably look really quick to see if any of the beat writers have tweeted something out. But yeah, I mean, I think this really should be Chicago's game, but who knows? Like Blake said, random stuff happens. It's hockey, and this is like Saad's coming back to the United Center for the first time. They're actually giving him his ring tonight. So it's just kind of Chicago should win this, but we'll see. They're on a slide, and sometimes when they're on a slide, weird stuff happens. So they've only scored 1 goal in the last 2 games. Chicago has too. So I don't know.
Is Ryan Garber playing first line wing tonight?
What?
Is Ryan Garber playing first line wing tonight?
No, I don't think so. I think they have Bickle. Hold on, I can tell you that really quick.
And now I'm still picking Columbus then.
Oh,
Well, Bickle's played first line before. Not that he belongs up there, but Taves and Hossa are more comfortable with him. I can tell you the lineup right now. Where'd it go? Yeah. So as of this morning, it was. Yeah. So as of this morning, it was Bickle, Taves, Hossa. That's the only line in my mind that's questionable. Panarin, Anisimov, and Kane. That's a good line. Teravainen and Hinostroza, who's a prospect that just came up. He played at Notre Dame, and Garbett's there because there's nowhere else for him to go, but at least he's on the third line. Desjardins, Kruger, and Shaw, which is turning into a really good checking line, and they were our best line the other night in Washington, which is saying something. And I think the defensive pairings are the same. Yeah, Svedberg's still with Seabrook and Daly and TBR. So, Blackhawks should have this, but I don't think, unless some mystical locker room words get uttered, I don't think it's going to be a straight blowout.
All right. And who are you going with, Blake?
I want to pick Columbus. I mean, obvious bias reasons. But I know Bobrovsky isn't confirmed yet, but it is 5:00. And so if we haven't heard of anything different, then we can all but consider it official. At this point, I think it's a 7:30 game time start.
Yeah.
If it was McElhaney starting, or if I had reason to believe it was McElhaney starting, I would perhaps then be inclined to say Columbus, because, as Emma said, Chicago, they're on a bit of a slide, it seems. Saad is coming back to the United Center, so perhaps expect an extra motivated Saad tonight. But the goaltending is what does it for me. If I had any reason to believe it would be McElhaney, I could then perhaps pick Columbus, but more than likely Bobrovsky, I think, and I really don't expect him going up against Kane and Taves and Hossa and all of them. I don't expect him to all of a sudden turn things around tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm going with Columbus, though. I feel like if it is Bob starting, he's going to try everything. I just have a feeling.
Well, the Oilers have to be the last one to win, so
Yeah.
I'm going to take Columbus. Yeah, so the Oilers can still be at the bottom there.
I still feel like Dave's spiting me.
No, I had this written down before you even started talking. I had my I have my picks filled out. San Jose is the only one that I haven't that I changed. So, yeah, I filled mine out already. Like as we were doing as you were doing your interview, I was filling mine out. So, but yeah,
Right.
The next game is Edmonton and Calgary. I'm going Calgary.
Of course.
Yeah. You're on Calgary too?
Calgary's defense is what can get them the win here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about you, Emma and Isaac?
I really want to say Edmonton, but I had just said that they need to be last ones to win, so I'm going to go with Calgary, but my heart says Edmonton. Please be good.
Yeah, I think Calgary.
They're better.
Yeah.
Simple. And Now, the last one. It's kind of a weird game. Boston and Arizona.
Hmm.
Arizona massively overachieving. Boston doing about how everyone thinks they were going to do. What do you guys think?
As it stands right now, in the battle against Boston doing what they're expected to be doing, which is not good, versus overachieving, give me the overachieving team. Give me the Arizona Coyotes.
Okay.
They're looking hot right now. I don't expect them to do much as the season progresses, but as it stands right now, dare I say, they're one of the best teams in the league.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Emma and Isaac? How do you feel?
I have Arizona.
All right.
I was mentally debating that whether I want to say Arizona or Boston. I don't think Boston's as bad because Rask hasn't looked very good this season, but neither has Boston's defense. But at the same time, that Arizona.
Real quick, we do have an injury update from that game. Brad Marchand, of course, is now in the lineup. He's been out for the past game or two with an injury, but he will be in the lineup tonight.
Mm-hmm. It's Tuukka Rask versus Mike Smith also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mike Smith got pulled on Thursday.
Of course he did.
Yes. Yes.
And for me, I am going with Arizona also.
You know, I still can't get over the fact that Mike Smith was on Team Canada at the Olympics. Yeah, he was
Yeah.
third string, but still.
How many USA goalies are there, though?
I mean, enough.
I mean, no, there's not that many American goalies in right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're gonna pick Gibson,
Howard.
Quick, and Mike Smith, and Gibson.
Wait,
Gibson. What?
Smith Canadian, though.
Is Mike
Yeah,
Smith Canadian?
Canadian.
Mike is wrong. I'm just wrong, aren't I?
You might be thinking about Ryan Miller. That was their third guy.
That might be the thing I'm thinking of.
There's another American goalie there. Mm-hmm. Hutchinson.
Yeah, I'm just that wrong. He is Canadian, isn't he? Wow.
Yeah.
I messed up. Well, yeah. Yeah, how is he on the Olympics then? There are so many Canadian goaltenders.
But Mike Smith?
Yeah.
I don't think Mike Smith played a game.
He didn't. He was a third string.
Yeah.
But
I think he might have played one of those like exhibition type games, but I don't think.
yeah.
Who was the backup then? I don't remember.
Was it Luongo?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
Price started every game and got a shutout every game. Of course he did.
Yeah.
One of those,
I mean, no, he didn't get a shot out every game. His
Oh.
save percentage was a 9.72.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
He only had
But-
2 shutouts in 3 games. Thank you very much.
I think it was that Latvia game that he was scored on. Latvia doing some scary things.
And that was
it was the Latvia game.
Christopher's Gudlevskis, a good amount of publicity, and now
Tampa Bay's
now no one knows.
there.
Yeah, now no one knows that he's just, not that good. Like his AHL stats are really underwhelming for Tampa.
Yeah. Tim Peel was a ref during that.
Was he?
Tim
Yeah.
Peel was a ref in the Olympics? What?
Yeah.
What?
What happened?
How is Tim Peel a ref during the Olympics?
He got a. What if he got? I bet you he ended up with a silver medal for the officiating. They do separate medals for all the officiating and all the sports, and he got a silver.
But Tim Peel? I don't know how to deal with this. I'm just gonna go away from this page so I don't have to look at that anymore. Anyway, we're all going Arizona for that. Wow.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you can't find very many people that think highly of Boston right now.
Yeah. Even Boston fans don't think highly of Boston. Then again, they didn't think highly last year going into it. Yeah. So we got our picks. Me and Blake almost equaled each other in this.
I believe I count only 2 that we differ on.
Yeah. All right,
Blake?
so that's everything I believe we have.
Can I have a quick hot take here?
Sure.
I'm watching the Jays game right now, and I think seeing God Bless America during the 7th inning stretch is kind of weird. I don't see why it's necessary.
Because freedom.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Do they do this at like every ballpark in the state?
I don't watch
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, jeez. Of course they do.
I don't remember if it's for like during the regular season. Maybe.
I don't think the Cubs. I don't think they do that at Wrigley Field. I've only been to Wrigley Field a couple times, but I don't think they do that there. I don't think they do God Bless America.
Huh. Oh yeah, I don't remember them doing that during the playoff series there. So
Well,
there's that.
my hot take is that's unnecessary during the game.
But yeah, Isaac, 3-0 Jays heading into the bottom of the 7th right now, I think. How you feeling? I'm feeling pretty good. How about you?
I'm feeling not horrible.
Right.
I never know.
I'm telling you, the price is right.
Harry Price isn't on the field.
Might as well be.
Fine, don't laugh at that. I say how it is. Thank you, Emma, for thinking I'm funny.
No problem, Dave.
Like which NHL team would make the best MLB team?
Which NHL team would
Edmonton, because they won't be able to, because they can't play hockey, so why not baseball?
make... Wow. All
That
right.
was an easy joke.
I am a mean person, I know.
You know what? I'm going to say Nashville.
Why?
I was gonna go with St. Louis.
Wow.
I think Ryan Reeves would make a great hitter.
We are, in capital letters, the best hockey team in baseball. Whenever I'm talking about the Cardinals, I like to do best something in baseball just to annoy people. We have the best fans in baseball, you know.
Yeah,
Everyone knows that.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I think that's everything. So, Blake, you want to get started on our outro?
Yes.
Next week, we hopefully have the Canucks and the Ducks. It could be either them two, or the Rangers, or Tampa Bay, or the Hurricanes, or the Blue Jackets. Depends on who we can get.
I feel like we're essentially just doing a grab bag of teams at this
Basically,
point.
we're just reaching in at this point.
Yes. I believe, admittedly, we haven't been very organized in the structure of this. We wanted to go by a draft order, but of course...
Good job, Blake.
Well,
Yeah, Blake, it's all your fault.
okay, guys. I see how it is. Well, this has been the Wooden Ball Show for Saturday, October 17th. Once again, we'd like to thank Emma for joining us this afternoon, talking some Blackhawks hockey. You can find her on... what are your usernames, Emma?
Wow, Blake.
No, you are at Triona05 on Twitter.
Yep.
And I don't remember your Reddit username.
And
Reddit
you're
is-
at Chicago Blackhawks.
Oh.
Yeah. Now Reddit is Triona 700.
Oh, 700. It's the numbers that was throwing me off.
Yep.
Right. And we'd like to thank Isaac for joining us this afternoon, talking some Habs hockey. You can find him on Twitter and Reddit. His usernames there is ShutUpIsaac.
Well, see, on Twitter, I'm the one with the underscore, because somebody
Yes.
has one without one.
Really?
Yes.
Right, that's interesting. And for the Wooden Ball Show, I am Blake. You can find me on Twitter. My handle there is @ShatMyKirk. You can find me on Reddit. My username there is BTownBomb. And for Dave, you can find him on Twitter. His handle there is @Blinson1. No, yes, Blinson1.
Yeah.
And what?
What?
Oh, And on Reddit, you can find him there as Blinson. Dave, we still doing the Mighty Daves and Ari show?
I am not 100% sure. Things have not been working out so far, so we will see what's happening next week. It's kind of a week-by-week basis at this point.
I see. Well, if so, just for precautionary measure, the day and time for that again?
Thursdays at 8
Eastern?
Eastern, yes.
Okay. Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central. The Mighty Daves and Ari show, perhaps, on the airwaves next Thursday. That is on Our HockeyCast, who you can find on Twitter. Our handle there is @Our HockeyCast. You can find us on Reddit. Our sub address there is Our HockeyCast. You can log on to ourhockeycast.com for episodes and archives of previous shows and episodes, and you can do that same thing on our YouTube channel. Our name there is Our HockeyCast. For Dave Ball, I am Blake Wood. This has been the Wooden Ball Show, and we are signing off.
Have a good night, everybody.